Chapter 1943 Stellar Blast. Chapter 1943 Stellar Blast. The dome shattered. Everything shook violently. Main Temple also felt the eruption of this abnormal power. From the very beginning, they had felt that there was a strange energy fluctuation on the Devil Island, but they had never expected that all of this energy came from one person. Long Fei. The dome with destructive power shattered. This meant that the Devil Island was no longer under his control. They were able to freely enter the ancient holy battlefield. This meant that this place was no longer the forsaken Godland. The dome of destruction is actually shattered. I didn't expect it to be like this. Only a bit more than 1 billion people died. The destroying dome isn't that big of a deal. Devil Island is no longer the Devil Island. So what if they broke through the dome? Nothing. The gods on the main temple did not feel any pity for the deaths of the billions of people. They were cold, playful, and did not care about the lives of the commoners. He was even sneering. Not enough had died. From their point of view, the people of Devil Island should all die, and the Devil Island should be destroyed. Icy God. The cold main temple. Did you see that? That brat is going to fight Destiny God. Ha ha ha. You overestimating yourself. He thinks this place is still the Chaos Realm? This is the ancient holy battlefield below main temple, is it him? Too savage. He dares to fight against a deity? This kind of person must not be allowed to live. Otherwise, where would our divine might go? You're right. Don't worry, Destiny God will kill this guy soon. The gods of main temple stood proudly in the air, quietly watching the skies above the Devil Island. The corners of Destiny God's mouth curled up as his gaze darkened. He sneered, "You came at me well, am I afraid of you? This is the ancient holy battlefield." This was his most powerful planar domain. He was able to clearly control all of his destinies. Looking at the enraged Long Fei, he was not afraid in the slightest. However, he was not finished. A huge black shadow suddenly appeared above his head, an incomparably huge black shadow. The sky darkened. Everyone looked up, and their expressions changed drastically. What is that? What's that? Why did a huge rock fall down? Is that a stone? That seems to be a continent. It covered the sky, covering the position of the entire Devil Island. This is called a rock. This was a plane, a planet. It was Long Fei's Death Star. It was also a death bombing. You're a god, but you're still a dragon? You can be so arrogant. Do you agree? Long Fei's eyes were bloodshot, the blasting fist was cold, he no longer had any techniques in his body, but he could sense them all. He still had a gobbledygook. The moment the dome exploded, he summoned his Death Star. He wanted to let Destiny God also feel the pressure of the dome. Destiny God's face was pale. The speed at which the Death Star was falling was too fast, and there was also a powerful pressure crushing the stars. Rumble. Rumble. Endless amounts of explosions occurred, and directly smashed onto the top of Destiny God's head. Destiny God's head suddenly sank, as he wanted to escape. He wanted to fly away. But the covering area of the Death Star was too big. No matter how he fled, he was unable to escape the plane of the Death Star. Not to mention, this was a mini version of the Death Star. If the original starplane that was merged with Long Fei was struck down, it was possible that the entire ancient holy battlefield could cover it up. How could he flee? Destiny God's entire body seemed to have split apart, his chignon instantly fell apart. He was in an extremely sorry state as he stared at Long Fei and roared, "What is this? What is this?" The Death Star smashed onto Destiny God's body, but he could not move at all. Long Fei stood right in front of him, smiled slightly, and said, "Aren't you a snob? Come, hang another one for me to see." Without waiting for Destiny God to speak, he slapped him hard on the face. "Aren't you King arrogant? Isn't it a god? Come on. Come on. Aren't we going to destroy the Devil Island? Come on." Long Fei's fury was vented out crazily, and he slapped Destiny God one big slap after another. Everyone in the Devil Island saw this scene. Their hearts were boiling. This is too awesome. It's totally a ravage. Ha ha ha. Destiny God, "You son of a bitch, come and kill us." Ha ha ha. Incomparable excitement. He had never thought that he would be able to crush a god, and a destiny god at that. The Death Star was incomparably huge. Once you were crushed by it, you basically could not pull it out, and the destiny god could only allow Long Fei to hit it. They were in a sorry state. It was even more miserable than when he was in Chaos Realm. If one's front teeth were separated from one's body, even saying that one's teeth were separated would result in air leakage. Destiny God stared straight at Long Fei, and said, "Long Fei, I will definitely tear you into 1,000 pieces. I swear to God. Yo. Dismembered. I'm so scared. Just cut me into pieces now." Long Fei lifted his leg and directly kicked Destiny God's crotch. Crack. He only heard 2 eggy cracking sounds. Destiny God's eyeballs were about to pop out. The pain was indescribable. Long Fei said solemnly, "I let you escape back in Chaos Realm. This time I will absolutely not let you escape." Woo ha ha ha. It's fine if you don't say Chaos Realm, but if you mention Chaos Realm, then do you not want your family, your women, or your brothers? Their souls are still in my hands. They haven't yet entered hell and are still suffering in my soul prison. Ha ha ha. That Phoenix Emperor of yours, wow. Your Liu Luoshi, your 1,000, all of them are beauties of the nation, waha. Destiny God also laughed crazily. This was Long Fei's weakness. Do you dare to kill me? Will you kill me? If I die, all of them will be annihilated, ha ha ha. Destiny God laughed out wildly. Long Fei's gaze tensed up. Cluck, cluck, cluck. His joints cracked. Do you even have the guts to mention them? The anger in Long Fei's heart expanded as though fire had been poured oil on it. He frantically struck out with his fist, and continuously slapped Destiny God in the face. Destiny God laughed crazily. Long Fei, you can't kill me, because I am a god. Here. No one can kill a god, ha ha ha. Indeed. No matter how Long Fei attacked, the bloody grooves on Destiny God's head did not budge an inch. It looked like he was injured, with a bloody nose and swollen face. He was in an extremely sorry state. However, no matter how hard Long Fei tried to hit him, he couldn't cause any damage to his HP insufficient strength. If that was the case. Long Fei's eyes darkened, and shouted loudly, "Then, let's use the explosive power of the heavens. Stars. Explode." Chapter 1944, I Want to Become a God. Chapter 1944, I want to become a god. If he didn't have enough strength, then he would release even more. Starbook. It was the treasure of the universal large world. Ranked 3rd out of the 10 great gobbledygooks. Even though Long Fei had only comprehended the first page, and fused a Death Star, but through the energy contained within the dragon-shaped mark, the power of the stars became incomparably strong. They were completely unable to move at all while firmly crushing Destiny God. However, Death Star had a time limit, and it had a time limit. Since Long Fei was unable to kill the Destiny God with his own power, he would use the explosive power of the Death Star. Ordered. The Death Star began to crack and explode. Rumble. Just how strong was the explosion of a planet? It was hard to imagine. Destiny God was scared, his entire face paled as he anxiously asked, "Long Fei, don't tell me that you don't want to save your family, or that you don't want to return your brother, the woman's soul. They are all in my soul cage. In this world, only I am able to open it. If you kill me, their souls will perish and disappear forever. Long Fei, you dare to kill me?" Long Fei said with a slight smile. "You also said it, they are in your soul cage. In other words, their souls are currently fine. If I can break through the dome, could it be that your spirit cage is even more unbreakable than the dome?" It was precisely because of this that Destiny God was able to speak without restraint. Otherwise, he wouldn't dare to do anything to Destiny God. Destiny God was startled, and said, "Only I can open the soul cage, other people are simply impossible. Long Fei, as long as you don't kill me, I will definitely let them go." He was afraid. He wasn't sure if he could withstand the bombardment of stars. He was a god. However, he knew that even gods would die. Moreover, The power of this star's bombardment was a power he had never seen before. Long Fei laughed with contempt. Beg me, kneel down and beg me. The destiny god spoke in a deep voice. Long Fei, I am a god and a master of fate for 100,000 planes. You want me to kneel before you? You should be the one kneeling down. If I die, all of your loved ones will die. Moreover, the fates of the living beings of the 100,000 planes will be in chaos, and the 100,000 planes will become an enormous chaos. You want me to kneel? Humph. He has his dignity. However, Long Fei liked to trample on this kind of dignity that thought itself to be above the masses. He sneered, You are well aware of my strength. If I kill you, I will replace you. The power of destiny is controlled by me. I will break your soul's cage, and I will control the fate of 100,000 planes. Long Fei leveled up his killing intent. The destiny god was very clear that killing people could seize their cultivation technique and secret techniques. His heart sank. You can't kill me, you can't kill me. Rumble, rumble, rumble. The stars exploded, and destiny god's body started to crack crazily. The energy from his body started to dissipate, and his entire being was in a state of collapse. Long Fei looked at everything, and said coldly, The one I'm going to kill is you. Ah! I can't die, I can't die. The destiny god screamed. Everyone on the Devil Island raised their heads to look at this scene. The destiny god was actually being crushed by Long Fei and was about to die. Long Fei was not a god. But it had the power to crush gods. Actually, Long Fei had been persevering on. The Death Star in the Sky Mountain was simply not this strong. It was the power of the dragon-shaped mark. Dragon-shaped mark. The power it possessed was beyond Long Fei's imagination. It could easily allow a Death Star to crush Destiny God. Seeing the blood on top of Destiny God's head constantly decreasing, Long Fei became excited. Ha ha ha. It's going to explode soon. It's going to explode soon. 100 metamorphic energy value is just for you. Ha ha ha. Destiny God, explode. Boom. The stars exploded. The last of the blood on top of Destiny God's head immediately drained. But, in a split second, a bolt of lightning struck down vertically. The lightning wrapped around the Destiny God and formed a thick air shield. It blocked off the energy from the explosion of the stars. The sky darkened and a huge face appeared in the sky. Long Fei had seen this face before. A sovereign. He was the ruler of 100,000 planes. The only sovereign amongst the 100,000. He was also the most powerful powerhouse of the 100,000 planes, second to none. Long Fei was extremely unhappy and said, It's you again. This was the second time, and he was saved by the god in Chaos Realm, but now, he was saved again. Long Fei was very unhappy. The god said solemnly, Long Fei, are you done yet? Destiny God laughed excitedly, ha ha ha. Long Fei, I said you wouldn't be able to kill me. I am a god who controls the fate of 100,000 planes. I definitely won't die. Long Fei stared at the sovereign and bellowed, Enough? I said not enough. The sovereign's eyes turned sinister, his eyes flashed with a sharp light. Without waiting for Long Fei to react, an imposing aura pressed down heavily and shouted, If it's not enough, then calm down a bit. Boom. Long Fei was instantly smashed down from midair. A deep crater was formed on the ground, and a large area of civilians around him were directly turned into dust. A look. Long Fei was unable to resist it. Cluck, cluck. Long Fei clenched his teeth, and leapt out from the deep pit. At this moment, his idea suddenly entered another space. Within the sovereign's dimension. Long Fei, your growth from God's martial continent to now is shocking. The main thing is that you promised me that from today onwards, you will listen to my orders and I will make you a divine child. I will make you one of the main temple, and Destiny God will be unable to do anything to you. The sovereign had suddenly put forward such an attractive offer. A sovereign, the most powerful powerhouse of the 100,000 planes. The Son of God was the #1 figure below the sovereign level. It could be said that with a single step, he was able to soar into the sky. No one would refuse such a request. Long Fei's idea let out a cold laugh, and said, Godchild. Rank in main temple? Ha ha ha. What an attractive offer, but I don't care. Such a main temple. A sovereign like this. The moment Devil Island was being stomped on, Long Fei swore that he would definitely defeat Main Temple and trample his sovereign realm to death. When the sovereign appeared again, what Long Fei saw was not the sovereign, but 100,000 of the strongest bosses. The sovereign said angrily, "Do you know the consequences of rejecting me?" Long Fei laughed. You are afraid that I would enter the ancient holy battlefield, you are afraid that I would change the situation, and you are afraid that I would replace you. You want peace." Long Fei didn't care about this at all. The sovereign began to laugh. Ah ha ha ha. Ha ha ha. Would I be afraid of you? Do you think that your Long family or ancient dragon palace? Do you think that your mother's Mu clan is an ancient Mu clan? Time is changing, everything is changing, your mother, your dragon manor, everything is changing. There is no place for them in the universal world, and you are just a stray dog. Would I be afraid of you? Ridiculous, truly laughable. Long Fei laughed coldly and said, "Then let's see who's the funniest." Boom. All of a sudden, the god power on Long Fei's body exploded out, the outer path's reincarnation innate technique. I want to become a deity. Chapter 1945. Chapter 1945 to infuse all of his divine power into the external reincarnation technique. This was the only cultivation technique that Long Fei had left behind. It was also unique. 1. The divine light exploded, like the sun that illuminated the entire Devil Island. Long Fei also used all his strength. More than anywhere. In the demon land, countless people were crying while hugging their loved ones. Countless white-haired people were sending black-haired people away and countless lonely children. A miserable world. You are a god. You are far above me. You are contemptuous of everything. You're awesome, but the people of Devil Island are also people. If not, how can you become a god? You won't save me. I'll do it. Long Fei released 10 million points of his holy power value. The god looked at Long Fei with contempt and laughed. What can you do? You can't do anything. Long Fei, I will only give you one chance to choose. If you don't agree, from now on, you will be the enemy of the main temple, and you will suffer the pain that you have never imagined before. Destiny God's heart tightened. He looked at Long Fei and thought to himself, God wants to subdue Long Fei? If Long Fei agrees, then. However, Destiny God relaxed again, and laughed to himself. With his personality, he will definitely not agree. Long Fei said coldly, don't talk so much. Hand over the Destiny God for me first. The sovereign stared at him and said, no matter what Destiny God has done, he is my subordinate and is the god that controls the fate of 100,000 planes. Even if he has committed a mistake, it is not your place to teach him a lesson. Destiny God immediately laughed. Long Fei, did you hear that? I say you won't be able to kill me, ha ha ha. The sovereign appeared. His strength completely crushed 10,000 Long Fei's. It was simply an impossible feat to kill the Destiny God in front of him. Furthermore, the Death Star had already exploded, so it could not be used a second time within a day. Unless Long Fei was able to obtain an extremely powerful strength with just a thought. This power. The power of a god. The power of 100,000 planar gods. Thus, he was willing to put his life on the line for this. Then there's nothing to discuss. Since there's nothing to discuss, then I will fight you to the death, main temple, right? Long Fei released all his holy power value. At this moment, Long Fei formed a seal with his mind, his holy power value sprinkling onto the ground. Buzz. An explosion sounded in the sky. The sky above Devil Island shook violently. The holy power value released from Long Fei's body turned into streaks of light, falling down like rain onto the body of the person below. A miracle had happened. Those people who had clearly been crushed to death by the dome suddenly opened their eyes. They were alive. What's wrong? It feels so strange. Am I not dead? Why are you still alive? I didn't die, ha ha ha. I didn't die. The huge bodies of the giant clan woke up one after another. Regardless of whether your body was crushed into smithereens or if you died, The divine art's reincarnation innate technique had pulled them all back from the gates of hell. Aside from the consumption of holy power value, it also consumed a lot of Long Fei's profound chi and longevity, and the feeling of his spirit force being hollowed out. An indescribable pain. Destiny God was stunned. He looked at the dead bodies on the demon land standing up one by one. How could this be? How could this be? Impossible, they were obviously dead. Why is this happening? Long Fei, what exactly did you do? Billions of people and demon beast were resurrected. Not to mention the gods who controlled fate, even the supreme gods wouldn't be able to do such a thing. The law of life, old age, sickness, and death was eternally immutable. Even sovereigns wouldn't be able to change it. They had clearly died, but now they were alive. The sovereign frowned, his eyes staring straight at Long Fei. Long Fei laughed and said, "You are gods high above, you treat the people on the Devil Island as ants, I treat them as my own people, as brothers. You won't save him. I'll save him." His voice was not loud, but it echoed throughout the entire Devil Island. And following Long Fei's words, the entire Devil Island suddenly quietened down, and everyone raised their heads to look at Long Fei who was in the sky. At this moment, regardless of whether they were human or the demon beastess that filled the mountains, their eyes were filled with incomparable reverence. Suddenly, the fiend land was terrifyingly quiet. Boom, boom, boom. One after another, the air kept exploding. For some reason, the Destiny God felt a little thirsty and said, "What sound is that? What sound is that?" The sovereign's eyes turned savage. He didn't know what sound it was, but he could clearly sense the power within it. Divine power. The same divine power as theirs. The sound was getting louder and closer. This is the voice of God. Did you hear that? Desperate Man suddenly became excited. I have heard this kind of voice before, 1,000 years ago. It was the voice of a god. Rumble. A loud sound echoed out. The sky seemed to explode. A beam of light burst out from the crack and enveloped Long Fei's entire body. At this moment, Long Fei's body felt indescribably comfortable. It was as if he was wandering in a sea of energy with incomparable satisfaction. And at the same time, his body was undergoing a crazy metamorphosis. What's that? Destiny God had never seen it before. His gaze sweeping past the commoners of the Devil Island, he said in a low voice, "This is the divine power of faith." The Destiny God asked doubtfully, "What is the divine power of faith?" The sovereign said, "The reason why we became deities is because we won the ancient war. Therefore, we, the conferred gods, have another way to become deities. We believe in becoming deities. Look at the billions of lives on this Devil Island. Long Fei is their religion. This power." The sovereign's eyes narrowed. He didn't say anything further. He only knew it, but he had never seen it before. He had thought that there was no way for him to truly become a god, nor was there such a possibility. Thus, he had never placed these ant-like humans in his eyes either. But now, Destiny God asked, "Lord God, then what are we waiting for? Kill him before he becomes a god." The sovereign frowned. He wanted to kill Long Fei too, but this was the choice of the heavens. The heavens are irreversible, seems like. The sovereign looked at Destiny God. Destiny God's expression tightened, and said, "Lord God, I don't want to die. I don't want to die." While they were talking, Destiny God immediately escaped. The sovereign let out a small breath. Why was the cultivation of the Destiny God so strong? With his fleeing speed, he was already millions of kilometers away in an instant. It was just that. At that moment, Long Fei's eyes were wide open as the beam of light around his body suddenly exploded. His figure flew out and instantly landed in front of Destiny God, as he coldly said, "Fate old dog, where are you running off to?" Chapter 1946, Destiny God Explosion. This is too bad. Chapter 1946, Destiny God Explosion. This is too bad. With a single thought, he became a god. It was unstoppable. Even the sovereign of the powerhouse, who was in control of 100,000 planes, couldn't stop it. The sky is not reversible. This was a god created from the faith of billions of creatures. This was the first time in the history of 100,000 planes that had existed for billions of years. Faith in God. The entire 100,000 planes were shaking, especially the main temple. It was as though their divine sparks were trembling. A chill rose in their hearts that had never been there before. Fear. Long Fei stood in front of the destiny god, laughed coldly, and said, "Where do you want to run to?" There was only a little bit of blood left on the top of his head. If he didn't kill this, then, was that still called Long Fei? Moreover, destiny god must die. The destiny god looked at Long Fei and said, "Long Fei, you cannot kill me. The Lord God will not let you go. Even if you become a god now, you will still not be able to kill me. I am the destiny god. I control the fate of the living beings of the 100,000 planes. If I die, the 100,000 planes will crumble." Not waiting for him to finish, Long Fei curled the corner of his mouth and said, "First, you should control your own fate." Suddenly, he moved. The simulacrum of a sovereign appeared again, and shouted slightly, "Long Fei, stop." A powerful force blocked in front of Long Fei, causing him to raise his eyes slightly. "You said I had to stop just because you told me to? Who do you think you are?" The sovereign looked displeased. "Long Fei, he is right. The fate of the living beings of the 100,000 planes is in his hands. If you kill him, the lives of the living beings of the 100,000 planes will become chaotic. It's great that it collapse. How wonderful it is to crumble, how terrible it is to crumble. Who cares about what you say?" Long Fei did not care about all that. Today, destiny god must die. Chaos realm fled. The bombardment of stars had fled. This time, no matter what, Long Fei would not let him escape. The sovereign's gaze tightened, and said, "Long Fei, you really want to kill him?" "I have to kill him," Long Fei said resolutely. The god's eyes revealed a hint of coldness. "He is a member of the main temple. If you kill him, it would be equivalent to waging a war against them. Can you, a small lower god, bear it?" Long Fei said fearlessly, "Whether I can take it or not, you'll have to take it first before you know. Stop bullshitting with lousy. Scram to the side." Long Fei raised his left hand, Wang. The power of Buddha became even more ferocious, directly shattering the sovereign's power. Long Fei also flew out and instantly appeared in front of Destiny God. He struck out with his palm into the air. The palm print became incomparably large. It covered the entire sky. Wow! Long Fei was indescribably excited in his heart. This is God power. The palm landed heavily. Die. Destiny God's eyes trembled and his pupils enlarged. He shouted loudly, "Lord God, save me, save me." Shadow of main God did not move. His real face is not here. It was also not within 100,000 planes, and just the power of this image alone was not enough to save Destiny God. Long Fei became a god. The power of the billions of lives supporting him was minuscule like dust, but the power of the billions gathered together. It could kill gods. Ah! Long Fei, you can't kill me, you can't kill me. Your brothers, your women, they are all under my control. The Destiny God roared, but Long Fei did not care, he just wanted to blast you to death. However, at this moment, a surge of power from the shadow of main God enveloped the Destiny God's body. Destiny God was overjoyed. He thought that the sovereign God was saving him, but when that power entered his body, his expression immediately changed. No, no, no. 100,000 planes cannot be thrown into chaos. I can't let the 100,000 planes under my control collapse because of you. This is all your fault. Who should we offend? And he had to offend the dragon manners and the Mu clan's crystal Long Fei's body. Who was he? I'm afraid that even if you were to die 10,000 times, you will never know the power backing him. However, don't worry, I will get revenge for you. The world I control does not allow anyone to act as he pleases. Even if he is a dragon, he would kneel in front of me. Buzz. With that said, all of the power in Destiny God's body was stripped away. At the same time, Destiny God's body sank slightly as the last bit of his blood fell to the ground. He no longer had any form of defense. Boom. His body exploded. Ding. Congratulations to player Long Fei for killing Destiny God for obtaining 100 billion experience, 1 billion holy power value, and 1 metamorphic energy value. Congratulations to player Long Fei for obtaining God's holy sword. 2 notifications. Other than a sword, nothing else had been revealed. Not even his divine spark was released. Long Fei started to understand a little. He stood there in a daze and thought, "System, did you get it wrong? Is he a destiny god? Main temple's boss? Are you joking with me? A sword? Just a sword?" Even the destiny goddess hadn't exploded it, not to mention his law of fate and the soul cage. The system did not respond. It will not respond to this either. After staring at it for a long time, Long Fei finally snapped back to reality. He spat out a mouthful of phlegm. Trash. Glancing at the god's holy sword, Long Fei did not look back. In other words, a slightly better holy artifact. It was not something that belonged to the level of a main artifact. He immediately lost all interest and didn't want to waste his metamorphic energy value. Long Fei was very angry in his heart. This is the first time that so many bosses have dropped so many pieces of trash. "I'll throw your mother to the ground." How infuriating. Destiny God doesn't drop anything. However, when Long Fei thought about how a halo of light would be pulled out of Destiny God before he died, he immediately looked up and stared at the shadow of main God above his head. He said coldly, "God, you really have a good move." The sovereign said coldly, "Long Fei, you have already challenged the main temple. Very good. I will let you know the power of main temple. Let's meet at ancient holy battlefield." As soon as he finished, the shadow of main God disappeared in an instant. Long Fei said, "I'll see you then. Do you think I'm afraid of you? Mother ****. It was also at this time. Ding. Congratulations to player Long Fei for breaking through Devil Island. Ding. Main artifact. Dragon Coffin. Awaken. In another place. God's Mountain. Zhong Wushuang sat cross-legged. He secretly rejoiced in his heart, and at the same time, he was also waiting. He was secretly happy because the destiny god was dead. They were waiting because... Suddenly, he slightly raised his eyes, immediately got up and bowed, "Lord God." Chapter 1947 8 King Kong out of the world. Chapter 1947 8 King Kong out of the world. Devil Island's imprisonment was broken, causing everyone to be shocked. Discussions were going on in every corner of ancient holy battlefield. However, in less than a day's time, these discussions rumble. A loud sound came from the sky above ancient holy battlefield as a ray of divine light descended, illuminating the entire God's Mountain. The light of the Son of God. The God-child has descended. In the direction of the God's Mountain. The Son of God has descended, and everything is shaking. Ancient holy battlefield was only the name of a plane, but the true battlefield that changed the laws of the world was not on this plane, but inside another secret world of this plane. In the secret world. When the God-child's light also shone down upon this place, the light faction, which was controlled by the main temple, began to retaliate frantically. The evil God Palace was completely unable to resist it. When the God's Son descends, the evil God army will be utterly defeated. The deadlock on the battlefield is slowly breaking. The power of the main temple began to take control of the entire situation. The evil God panicked. The God-child had descended faster than he had expected. Moreover, this God-child didn't just grasp one law power, he also wielded 2 law powers. Adding on the main artifact S. If he cultivated in the future, even he, the evil God, would not be a match for him. 2 types of law energy, comparable to the power of sovereigns. God's Mountain. You are now a child of God, and you control the power of law passed down through your ancestors, the defense law. In addition, the destiny God's law of fate has been passed to you as well. Right now, you are in control of the fate of the living beings of the 100,000 planes, so it can be said that no one in the 100,000 planes is your opponent other than me. The sovereign said calmly. Zhong Wushuang kneeled on the ground and said, "Thank you, Lord God. I want you to do something right now. No matter what, You cannot let Long Fei bring people into the battlefield. It was not that simple to enter the ancient holy battlefield. However, to be able to kill the destiny god, Long Fei was an extremely simple person. Even the sovereigns did not dare to underestimate him. As long as Long Fei was not able to enter the battlefield, he was unable to change the outcome of the battle, and the 100,000 planes were firmly held in his hands. Zhong Wushuang's gaze tightened, and said solemnly, Long Fei. Long Fei's background is very complicated, so I don't need you to face him head-on. As long as you stop him from entering the battlefield and wait for me to return, it will be his doomsday. The sovereign's real face wasn't in one of the 100,000 planes. He was training in another time and space. Outside the 100,000 planes, the universal large world was the center of the universe. 100,000 planes was nothing. Compared to the universal large world, who was as small as a grain of sand, the sovereign king was not willing to be the monarch within the sand. He wanted more power. The power to live forever. Thus, he entered the foreign land to search for stronger powers. Zhong Wushuang replied, As you wish. The sovereign reminded him once again, Long Fei's background is very complicated. With his body, his soul is filled with too many mysteries. He is the product of the union of two of the most ancient families in the universal world. Even if you control two types of law energies, it would be difficult to kill him. Zhong Wushuang said again, Disciple will remember. When I'm not around, you can temporarily be Main Temple's commander. When necessary, you can enter the battlefield, and you can also give orders to the 36 gods of Main Temple. Son of God. An existence lower than 10,000 people. Even if the sovereign did not speak, Zhong Wushuang's identity and status were not something that the gods of Main Temple could compare to. The sovereign's words allowed Zhong Wushuang to gain an even stronger support. When necessary, you can use the power of the entire Main Temple to stop Long Fei from entering the God Battle battlefield. The sovereign looked in the direction of the Devil Island and said slightly, This is my territory. I don't care if you are the Dragon Manor or the Mu clan. And then, the shadow of Main God slowly disappeared into the sky. Zhong Wushuang slowly stood up from the ground. He looked at his hands, looked at the divine child's imprint on his palms, and simultaneously felt the power of the law of fate in his body. He couldn't help but laugh wildly. Ha ha ha. Ha ha ha. The space between his eyebrows sank. Buzz. A strong law of fate suddenly burst forth, with him at the center as it formed a giant vortex of energy. In this vortex of energy, he could feel a strength that made him especially excited. Suddenly, Zhong Wushuang was ecstatic, the elementary form of soul controlling. This is the power that the destiny god had been secretly cultivating all this time. I never thought that. The sovereign did not notice that I was being stripped of the destiny god's power and all of it was transferred into my body. In other words, what I grasp is not 2 law energies, but 3 law energies. Zhong Wushuang was boiling. Long Fei, let's see how you are going to fight with me, ha ha ha. Shenyuan Li Damn you, it's time to start. The reason why I didn't touch you until today. Zhong Wushuang suddenly thought of something, his mouth hooked up as he said with a cold smile, However, before this, I should have gone to see the souls destiny God has created. Long Fei, it seems like your clansmen, brothers, and women's souls have all been absorbed by the destiny God, right? Now they are mine. When you killed my clansmen, let's see how I deal with them now, ha ha ha. The sovereign only stripped away the power of the destiny god. He only wanted the fates of the living beings of the 100,000 planes to be controlled a little earlier. However, he did not expect that the soul controlling that the destiny god was cultivating with would already have taken shape, and that he only needed to integrate with a strong soul to complete it. 3 law energies. There was no precedent. Once he mastered it, no one would be able to stop him. There was an unprecedented crisis. Zhong Wushuang would never let Long Fei go. Similarly, Long Fei would also not let Zhong Wushuang go. In another part of the infernal realm. 8 places. To respect a man like a statue. Suddenly, a pair of eyes suddenly opened wide, glaring at him like King Kong. A shadow descended from the sky, with a light sound, Holy King Kong, boom. Li Yuanbar's statue-like body instantly recovered, and he fiercely stood up. Black runes covered his entire body, and his body was half god. Super divine power. Li Yuanbar looked at the illusory image in the air and asked, "Is it time?" The mysterious man nodded his head. "It's time, your journey to hell is over. Now, return to Long Fei, he needs your help." Ha ha ha. The black runes on Li Yuanbar's body slowly entered his body, and with a wild laugh, he said, "Boss, we're going to come out, ha ha ha." How many years had the journey to the infernal realm been going through? How much had he experienced? He had experienced many hardships and suffered many hardships. Others didn't know, but only they themselves knew. The current 8 King Kong was no longer the previous 8 King Kong. Long Zhanting was also no longer the Long Zhanting of the past, but the King of Hell in 100,000 planes. Control the law of death. Boom, boom, boom. In every direction of the infernal realm, the sound of explosions unceasingly rang out. 10,000 ghosts pay their respects. The 8 King Kong was born and awakened. In that instant. Entering society, entering the ancient holy battlefield plain. Chapter 1948 Opening of the Dragon Coffin S and Ancient World S. Chapter 1948 Opening of the Dragon Coffin S and Ancient World S. With a single thought, he became a god. Main artifact, Dragon Coffin Awakening. The dome above Devil Island shattered. Everything shook violently. Ancient holy battlefield, divinity, and the place where the main temple was located were all shocked. Because all of this was impossible, and now it had happened. He did not rely on the ancient holy battlefield's struggle to become a god. He relied on his own strength to break through the shackles of the Dome of the Gods. It was like a myth. On Devil Island, those people who died in the battle for the Dome of the Heavens were all saved by Long Fei. Giant clan. 12 Hell Reapers. Countless warriors and commoners. Huff. Wang Tai let out a heavy breath. His face was full of infatuation and satisfaction, as though he was a young girl in the prime of her youth. Yang Nantian looked at him and laughed. "What smell is that?" Wang Tai said excitedly. "Freedom." LV Shuangchuan scratched his head. "I don't feel anything, I'm still the same as before." Ba Wang Hua laughed. "I also smell the scent of freedom. We can leave Devil Island, we can step onto the plain of ancient holy battlefield, and..." Speaking to hear, Ba Wang Hua's eyes were filled with longing, and he said, "Maybe one day we will be able to enter the battlefield, maybe one day we can change this world." Long Fei walked up, and said indifferently, "I will." Everyone revealed an excited smile when they saw Long Fei. "Boss. Brother Fei." Long Fei clenched his fists tightly and said, "There will definitely be a day when I will bring you all into the battleground. I will make this world tremble before us, and I will draw up new rules." Everyone looked at him with blazing eyes. They believed in Long Fei. At this time, the Tian Shu walked over and said indifferently, "Long Fei, this is an extremely difficult path. Changing oneself is very difficult, and changing the world is very difficult. The power of law has been ingrained in my body for millions of years. It's extremely difficult to change it." However, the Tian Shu laughed, "Everything you have experienced is a kind of tribulation. The more tribulations you have, the more beneficial it will be for your growth. Only then will you be able to walk further. All right, we are going back to the holy Buddhahood. If fate wills it, we will meet again." The Tian Shu clasped her hands together and said, "Amitabha." And then, the Tian Shu stepped into the void together with her 3 junior brothers. It disappeared in the blink of an eye. Their mission was over. It was time for them to leave, and Holy Buddhahood had always wanted to ignore him, but how could he ignore him when he was already in the middle of a storm? They were going back to train hard. To fight for the survival of the Holy Buddhahood. Long Fei looked at their disappearing figures and said softly, "Many thanks." Bai Lian said, "You are the son of God, there is no need to thank them. Everything they do is natural." Long Fei said, "They are all friends who have helped me before, regardless of my identity. I should be thankful. I also want to thank you all for accompanying me in battle." Long Fei looked at everyone around him. His heart was filled with gratitude. It was because of their help that he was able to stand here. Yang Nantian said, actually, the one who needs to thank is us. If it wasn't for you, we would just be ants in the eyes of the gods, and would have died a long time ago. Yeah. We want to thank you. The entire Devil Island must thank you. You revived them. In the hearts of the people in the Devil Island, no matter who it was, all of them were immensely grateful to Long Fei. Long Fei gave them hope. Let them be reborn. Yang Nantian said, what should we do next? Long Fei frowned, he had no clue on what to do next. He looked at Desperate Man and asked, do you know what happened after my mother ascended? Desperate Man shook his head, I don't know, and no one knows either. Gold Robe Master said, Long Fei, the next step should be to bring a group of people to ancient holy battlefield and search for the entrance to the battlefield. We have broken through the shackles of the Devil Island, the forces of the main temple will definitely not let us off, only by entering the ancient holy battlefield earlier will we have the qualifications to fight against the main temple, and the strength to stabilize ourselves. Zhong Sanqian said, that's right, only those who enter the battlefield have the authority to speak. Killing Destiny God right in front of the god is a great humiliation to the main temple. They will definitely not let this go easily. We should quickly enter the battlefield, ancient holy battlefield. It was a very special existence. Everything you want can be achieved in it. Power of law. The king's rule. Everything you can think of. Thus, main temple also firmly held onto everything in the battlefield. Only by entering the battlefield could one earn enough achievements to have a foothold. Long Fei slightly nodded and said, all right, prepare in 3 days, and then enter the ancient holy battlefield. Gold Robe Master said again, ancient holy battlefield must go, but Devil Island is your foundation. You must also guard him well. His words did not make sense. However, Long Fei was very clear about this in his heart. The Devil Island was where he became a god. The billions of lives here were the source of his power. If they died, his divine spark would fall. When he entered the ancient holy battlefield again, he had to protect the people here. Long Fei frowned, nodded, and said, I understand. At night, the bright moon hung high in the sky. Long Fei sat on a cliff, leaning in Bawang Hua's embrace. Bawang Hua caressed Long Fei's silver-white hair. Under the moonlight, her silver hair shone. Leaning into Long Fei's embrace made her feel incomparable happiness. Long Fei looked at Hao Yue, his eyes filled with longing. Thinking about what Destiny God had said, Jojo and the others' souls were still suffering in their soul cages, but he had no way of saving them after killing the Destiny God. Long Fei's heart felt very uncomfortable. Moreover, facing the shadow of main god, Long Fei simply did not have enough power. He was already unable to defend against just a sovereign idea. If the Real face appeared, he would only be able to get crushed. Sovereigns. A supreme powerhouse of 100,000 planes. A true controller. Long Fei was still unable to move. He still had to become stronger, and he had to develop the strength of the dragon-shaped mark as well. Main artifact, the dragon coffin. Long Fei took a look, and saw that there wasn't much of a difference from the first stage. On the dragon coffin, there was an extra dragon-shaped mark that was exactly the same as the one on her arm. Long Fei moved. The idea entered the dragon coffin. Buzz. The dragon-shaped mark flashed with light. Next. Long Fei felt as if he had entered another world, an incomparably vast and ancient world. Suddenly, sensing Long Fei's aura from the depths of this world, a heaven-shattering dragon roar sounded out. Rumble. A colossal dragon covered in golden scales rose up. This huge dragon is exactly the same as the dragon-shaped mark on my arm. Chapter 1949 Abnormal Training Mode. Chapter 1949 Abnormal Training Mode. Long Fei's idea stood in shock, not daring to move. The golden dragon turned, and instantly appeared in front of Long Fei. Huge. It was incredibly difficult. Long dragon whiskers, sinister dragon heads, 2 large golden eyes slightly moved as they stared at Long Fei. At this moment, Long Fei felt like he was being held back by the god of death. He couldn't move. He believed that even if he used all his strength, including ultimate boxing, he wouldn't be able to harm a piece of the dragon's scales. Long Fei had obtained the 12-dragon ancestor at the god's martial continent. His Long family people had all turned into dragons. The dragon was familiar to him. Furthermore, he had met the powerful colorful fairy dragoness of the divinity's dragon tribes in the Chaos Realm. Compared to the huge dragon in front of him, the dragons that Long Fei had met were like small worms. Not a dragon at all. The colossal dragon's mouth moved slightly as it said, "You're finally here." The powerful aura of the dragon vanished. Long Fei's consciousness moved, and said, "You're waiting for me." The colossal dragon said, "Do I have to wait for someone else?" The dragon coffin was a main artifact. When Long Fei received him, she knew that his attacks were very strong. Golden cudgel, the power of a sun monkey. However, he never thought that the dragon coffin would hide such a huge world, and this huge dragon was actually waiting for him. Long Fei said, "What are you waiting for me for?" The colossal dragon said, "Don't you know that I'm waiting for you?" True. You don't know many things. You know very little about the dragon clan, and very little about the dragon manor. Naturally, you don't know your own identity, nor do you know why I'm waiting for you. Forget it. It's good if you don't know. This way, you can also put your heart into it. The colossal dragon turned to look at Long Fei and said, "The reason is no longer important. You are the chosen one from the Long residence. You are also one of the people chosen by the Mu clan. Now that you have appeared here, I will do everything I can to raise you into a peerless powerhouse." All right, that's all I have to say. From now on, your training in the dragon coffin will begin. Please choose. The moment the dragon finished its sentence. Ding. Congratulations to player Long Fei for triggering the dragon coffin training mission. At the same time, in Long Fei's mind, the various choices that had been drawn out by a disc appeared. Martial arts training, alchemy, artifact cultivator. Martial arts training was the main profession. There were also many supplementary training tasks. In addition, there were also two powerful cultivation methods, immortal cultivator and deity cultivator. However, these two patterns were grey and white, and with Long Fei's current cultivation, he was unable to activate them. "Can you give me a hint?" Long Fei asked. The colossal dragon said, "It's very simple. This dragon coffin has too many secrets and I only know a little of them. The special space I'm in will appear different models according to your choice." Long Fei's heart trembled. This is the third time the dragon coffin has been opened, but it has not completely revealed its power. What exactly is it? Long Fei was too lazy to think about it. The idea moved and said, "Let's choose the martial arts training mode today." Ding. Martial arts training mode confirmed. Ding. Martial arts training mode activated. Ding. Kill 10,000, steel armor beast. Successfully completed the mission, obtaining task credit, special reward. Mission failed, all the steel armor beast's experience points will be deducted. Without waiting for Long Fei to get ready, the huge dragon soared into the sky and the whole world suddenly changed. From just one ancient world, it became a battlefield for the opposite sex. Roar. A steel armor beast stood on top of a mountain that looked like a thorn as it let out a roar. Steel armor beast. It was about 10 meters tall, and its entire body was made of iron. This type of steel was not ordinary steel, but a very special kind of material. Boom. Bang. With a loud noise, Long Fei was not given any time to react. A steel armor beast descended, its front limbs moved, suddenly transforming into a sharp Daofeng. A lightning attack. Long Fei's face shook. Although his divine spark was unstable, he was still a lower god of the 100,000 planes, and his reaction was as fast as lightning. However, his reaction speed, could not keep up with the steel armor beast. Swish. The blade slashed down. The blade chi was like a rainbow and directly slashed Long Fei's idea into two. Instant kill. Ding. Challenge failed. Huff. Long Fei was also shocked to the point that his entire body was covered in cold sweat. Ba Hua looked at him and perspired profusely, then said, "Long Fei, what's wrong with you? Don't scare me." Hoo. Long Fei took a few deep breaths and said, "I'm fine. Little flower, you go back first. I'll be alone." The matter of the dragon coffin naturally could not be told. He was like a system, nobody could say anything. Bawang Hua was a little worried. Long Fei replied, "Don't worry, I'll be fine." The cultivation method of the dragon coffin was too terrifying. If one steel armor beast could kill him in an instant and let him kill 10,000 steel armor beast, wouldn't that be asking for his life? Although Bawang Hua didn't know what had happened to Long Fei, she believed in him. After she left, Long Fei moved and thought in his heart, "Damn, so bold. This is too freaking abnormal. I am still a lower god after all, so if I instantly killed him, how terrifying would this steel armor beast's cultivation be?" Long Fei's heart throbbed, and he once again entered the world of Dragon Coffin. This time, he did not choose to use the martial arts training. Going in was completely asking for a beating. Alchemy. Ding. Alchemy mode activated. Ding. I can refine a divine pill. Refined successfully, obtaining task credit, special reward. Refining failed, so all my alchemy experience points will be deducted. I started with some godly pills, but this daddy here is an expert at alchemy. Divine pellets are also easy to obtain. Long Fei's attainments in alchemy could be considered not bad. At least in God's martial continent, his alchemy technique, he cultivated it to the great perfection stage. The system beep descended. All sorts of spirit grass appeared in front of Long Fei, and they were all super divine rank spirit grass that Long Fei had never seen before. He became excited, so many good spirit grass, any random one of them would shock 100,000 planes. These spirit grass did not even belong to these 100,000 different planes. Even the lowest ranked spirit grass would be 10,000 times stronger than any one of the 100,000 planes. With this kind of material, how can it still not produce godly pills? He's not an idiot. Immediately, Long Fei selected a few spirit grasses and began using his alchemy. Alchemy. Technical second, material first. Without good materials, even if you could make flowers, it would be useless. The materials that Long Fei had grasped could be said to be the best of the best, refining divine pellets. He was filled with confidence. However, the god power activated the fire, and when he threw the first spirit grass into the furnace, the system rang out before he could even control it. Ding. Chapter 1950 Training with Different Meaning. Chapter 1950 Training with Different Meaning. Ding. Refinery failure. Long Fei was stunned on the spot. Holy *T. I haven't even done anything and I've already failed. You don't get it, do you? Long Fei had a stupefied expression. He didn't even know where he had failed. The colossal dragon's voice sounded, "The alchemy techniques that you have mastered in the past are all trash, and are completely useless. From the moment you used your divine power to ignite the fire, you have failed." Long Fei was speechless. In the Devil Island, he had never refined any pills, but in Chaos Realm, he was also a master of alchemy. How could the first step be wrong? Long Fei was not convinced, and asked, "If we do not use divine power to ignite the fire, then what should be the first step? Could the spirit grass have melted directly into the pill furnace?" The colossal dragon slightly said, "Every single spirit grass has their own unique characteristics. Traditional alchemy can only refine ordinary traditional medicine, and this kind of medicine can only be wasted on spirit grass. It doesn't have too much value. If I want to refine a real divine pill, I have to master the art of heaven." Long Fei asked again, "Why is it a sky spell?" The colossal dragon replied, "One does not rely on one's own strength to refine pills. Instead, one uses the natural power of all kinds of methods to refine pills. The world is just a huge furnace. He doesn't need a real alchemy powerhouse to concoct a pill furnace." F***ck. Long Fei unhappily grinned, "If you use all sorts of methods, you will naturally go to the alchemy. Make one for me to see." The colossal dragon said gently, "I will only do it once. Watch carefully." While they were talking, a few spirit grass rose into the air. Suddenly, the huge dragon's power surged. The wind, Chi, luck, and power in the surroundings were all channeled by him. He had truly turned the world into a pill furnace. The spirit grass rose into the air as the holy source surged and fused. In less than a second, a ray of spiritual light shot out explosively. A sugar-sized pellet appeared in front of Long Fei. Long Fei moved. Pill, spirit opening pill grade, divine level. This divine level is different from the divine level in Devil Island. In ancient holy battlefield, the divine level in 100,000 places is completely different. Description: a pill can instantly become a god. Long Fei was dumbstruck as he looked at the pill's properties. He needed billions of souls to be able to become a god with just a thought. And this small pill in front of him, as long as he swallowed it, he could become a god. Gudong. Long Fei heavily swallowed his saliva, and muttered, "About that, this pellet." Without waiting for Long Fei to finish, the pill flew into the air and landed in the mouth of the colossal dragon. Long Fei's eyes turned green, and he cursed in his heart, F***ck, won't you leave it to me? That's a spirit-opening pill. A single pill can help one become a deity and rise to the heavens in a single step. He even had the heart to cry. However, the colossal dragon disdainfully said, "My alchemy technique is only at the lowest stage of the heaven arts, and the pellets I refine are only barely adequate. A true alchemy powerhouse can casually refine and consume a pellet that will instantly kill your 100,000 supreme powerhouse 10,000 times. Long Fei. They had instantly killed up to 10,000 of powerhouse. A single pill could kill a sovereign. Moreover, 10,000 times. Was there such a pill in this world? Killed a sovereign in an instant. Long Fei didn't even dare to believe that, if it was true, then the 100,000 planes was too small in front of the universal large world. The warriors here were all probably 3 years old when compared to the warriors in the universal world. Terrifying. It was too damn scary. It was also at this time. The system sounded out. Ding. Alchemy mission, failure. Boom. Long Fei's idea was once again blasted to death, breaking out in a cold sweat. It returned to the real world. Damn, this is too ferocious. Training method? This is simply devilish. Look at the other mode. Next, Long Fei tried them out one by one. Refining method. Boom. Killed. Inscription mode. Boom. Instantly killed. After observing all the challenges, Long Fei concluded that these challenges could only be described with one word: you're courting death. There was no pattern that Long Fei could endure past 3 seconds. If he went up, he would be defeated, and if he failed, he would be killed. Wanting to pass the mission, ascend to heaven? It was 10,000 times harder than climbing to heaven. After an entire night of suffering, Long Fei was completely beaten up. He felt like he had been an idiot in his previous cultivation. The next day, Long Fei said, "Continue. You're courting death. Even I have to come up with some tricks. I don't believe you." Long Fei never submitted. Moreover, through the night, although he had failed all the challenges, he had learned a lot of things. On the contrary, he felt that he had learned a lot under the cruel training mode. It would be useless in the Dragon Coffin world, but in the Devil Island world, he felt that one night was comparable to 10 years of bitter cultivation by the great masters. Also, he wanted to enter the ancient holy battlefield. He wanted to leave alone. The Devil Island needed someone to protect them. If he led too many people and left, he was afraid that other powers would invade the Devil Island. Just as Gold Robe Master said. This was his foundation. If the Devil Island was destroyed, his divine spark would fall as well. He wanted to enter the ancient holy battlefield by himself, to find the entrance to the battleground, and at that time, he would return to the Devil Island to bring his men into the battlefield. Thus, before he enters the ancient holy battlefield, he needs to be strong enough. The powerhouses of the main temple were waiting for him. The sovereigns would definitely not allow him to easily enter the battleground. It was imperative to become stronger. The cultivation method of Dragon Coffin was extremely important. Again, martial arts training mode challenge. Ding. Activating the martial arts training's cultivation method, killing 10,000 steel armor beast. Long Fei came to the Star Wars battlefield once again. This time he was good. Looking at the incoming steel armor beast, his fists sank. Take one of my blasting fist first. Boom. The power of the ultimate boxing was released. Blasting fist, whoever he saw. The ultimate boxing had an endless amount of power. The steel armor beast did not dodge, and continued to forcibly charge forward. Rumble. Long Fei grinned and said, "You're still not dead yet." However, the huge explosion had not finished landing yet, but the steel armor beast in the dust did not have any injuries, and directly smashed into Long Fei's body. Boom. The idea shattered. Long Fei left the otherworldly battlefield. Hoo. Holy **T. Not even death of blasting fist. Long Fei's face turned white, as if he died once. The colossal dragon's voice rang out, "The martial arts training mode is not only for you to kill the steel armor beast, the most important thing is to cultivate. All of your strength will be suppressed here, so the blasting fist is also useless. You have to rely on your combat skills, strength, speed, and also your ability to see to defeat the steel armor beast. Only by doing so can you truly improve, not just raise your cultivation level. This is meaningless. Understood?" Chapter 1951 Eagle's Eye Insight. Chapter 1951 Eagle's Eye Insight. Dragon Coffin, Ancient World's Astral Battlefield. Hoo. Long Fei gasped for breath. After spending more than 3 hours on the battlefield, the steel armor beast finally lost a tenth of its HP. This is too damn difficult. Looking at the steel armor beast that was fuming, Long Fei felt very bad. Isn't this guy too difficult to deal with? After 3 hours, Long Fei was almost played until death as he grinded back and forth between the damage dealt by the MIS and the fact that the steel armor beast did not die. However, after 3 hours of consumption, he always knew some of the characteristics of this steel armor beast. For example, every time he moved the red liquid flowing on his body, it would flash with a red light. For example, every time he moved the red liquid flowing on his body, it would flash with a red light. However, it was far too difficult to sever the source of power. Huff. Long Fei panted like an ox as his brain spun. He had been training in the Dragon Coffin's training mode for 3 days straight. In these 3 days, this was the first time he had dealt 10% of the steel armor beast's damage. One steel armor beast was way too far away from 10,000, but this was an important step. Boom. The steel armor beast let out a roar, and its footsteps became heavy. Buzz. An ear-piercing sound pierced through the air, followed by a red light shining from its body. Long Fei frowned. "Coming. F***CK. I'm not afraid of you." Long Fei stood in place without moving, holding his breath. He concentrated with all his might, and all the divine power in his body surged out. Calm down, you have to be calm." He was waiting for an opportunity. They were waiting for the chance to kill him in one hit. In the blink of an eye, the steel armor beast pounced down. Its forelimbs suddenly turned into sharp blades, like a flying mantis. With a few slashes, the blade chi wreaked havoc, sealing off all paths of retreat for Long Fei. "Seal off my path of retreat. Humph. I've never thought of running away. Just like you." Long Fei's eyes suddenly opened wide, revealing a ray of light. Following that, his entire body flew out, sticking close to the ground. Rumble. The steel armor beast smashed down. Long Fei's right fist moved. The dragon-shaped mark let out a faint glow. "Come on." Thousands of holy power value surged. Long Fei punched heavily on the steel armor beast's abdomen, which was also where all of the steel armor beast's scarlet energy was gathered from. Boom. An earth-shaking explosion. Long Fei's arm also went numb from the impact, as if he was almost blown away by the backlash. However, a miracle happened. The red light covering the steel armor beast scattered and was shattered by Long Fei within the energy source. His entire body collapsed. Ha. As expected, it is a one-hit kill. Awesome. You are awesome. Is the steel armor beast amazing? Isn't it still being torn to pieces by me? Ha. Long Fei shouted excitedly. It was also at this time. Ding. Congratulations to player Long Fei for obtaining Eagle's Eye power. Ding. Congratulations to player Long Fei for obtaining 100 million experience points, 100 million holy power value, and 1 metamorphic energy value. Congratulations to player Long Fei for obtaining a piece of God's steel. Eagle's Eye. Long Fei felt a surge of power surge into his eyes, as if his eyes had transformed. Hawk Eye. It had a 5% understanding of a Fatal Strike's weakness. Fatal Strike's weakness? Long Fei was excited, and thought, ha ha ha. This devilish training method sure is useful. And the experience is so great. 100 million experience each. If 10,000 is a trillion, then how high would one have to rise to? Long Fei was a little confused. His current level was lower God. He should be the strongest existence in the Devil Island. However, the realm and level of the ancient holy battlefield S were not limited to just the lower goddess. There were even higher levels. To be able to obtain 1 trillion experience points, not to mention the highest level of experience points, even main temple would probably be considered as the strongest level of existence. A trillion experience, adding task credit, and there's even a big prize for mysteriousness, ha ha ha. System, you are really too awesome, too abnormal. Long Fei was excited. However, at this moment, the 2 steel armor beasts descended, not giving Long Fei enough time to react, and instantly killed the Long Fei who was thinking too much at the same time. Boom. The idea was cut down. Long Fei was scared to the point that he broke out in cold sweat again, as he left the ancient world and returned to the real world. He took a deep breath. Damn. I feel like I died again. Does it have to be like this? Every time the idea was killed, it was as if they died. It was really hard. At this moment, the system sounded out. Ding. Mission failed, experience, divine power, and metamorphic energy value retracted. Instantly, 100 million experience points disappeared from the experience slot. Long Fei was at a loss. It was as if she was slicing his flesh. She was in extreme pain. System, your head. I only killed 1 steel armor beast in 3 days, you're going to retract it now. Aren't you being too cruel? A mission is a mission. Failure is failure. With his experience being taken back, Long Fei felt a bit bad, but he had no choice. Who told him to enter the Dragon Coffin's training mode? However, fortunately, Ying Ai and the God's Steel that dropped from the steel armor beast were not taken back. Looking at these 2 things, Long Fei's heart was moved. It seems like the things that are dropped from inside will not be taken back, at least there is some comfort. Chapter 1952, Entering the Ancient War of Gods. Chapter 1952, Entering the Ancient War of Gods. Although Long Fei had been training for the past 3 days, he had been thinking about it. Devil Island was currently in an extremely unstable state. Moreover, the dome had been destroyed, and the dense chi of God power had surged in, causing the speed of Devil Island's martial arts training to increase by leaps and bounds. The most important thing was, Long Fei needed someone to protect this land. Just you alone? Ba Wang Hua was immediately startled, and said, didn't you agree to it at the beginning? Bring us to the ancient holy battlefield. Yang Nantian was also startled, and said, that's right, why did it become you alone again? Ancient holy battlefield is definitely 10,000 times more dangerous than Devil Island. Although we aren't strong enough, we can still help you a little. Boss, just bring me along. I promise I won't cause you any trouble. That's right. Bring us along. Entering the ancient holy battlefield is my life's dream. Bring me with you. Who doesn't want to go? Who doesn't want to see the larger world? Long Fei looked at the people in the Great Hall and said faintly, don't be anxious, just listen to what I have to say. The ancient holy battlefield is extremely huge, more than 10,000 times bigger than the Devil Island. Where is the entrance to the battleground? The main temple controls the light faction and the evil faction's entrance. These 2 entrances do not allow us to enter, so we can only look for the 3rd entrance. I'll go alone. When I find the entrance, I'll immediately come back to inform you. I need your strength. No matter how strong a person was, fighting for supremacy by himself was still a person. What Long Fei needed was a group of strong people entering the battlefield so that he could have a chance to win. In addition, the Devil Island's dome has been broken. All sorts of powers have been spying on us from the shadows. If you all leave, who will protect this place? Who will protect the common people here? I was able to become a deity through the achievements of billions of lives here. If something were to happen to them, what's the point? I need you to stay, Long Fei said seriously. The Gold Robe Master took a step forward and said, Long Fei is right. The billions of lives on the Devil Island have made him into a god, but if anything happens here, his divine spark will fall, and our Devil Island will never be able to recover. Desperate Man asked, Young Master, how much time do you need? Long Fei shook his head and said, I don't know. He had no clue about the ancient holy battlefield, and did not know where to look for it. He did not know where to start either, so he could only enter the ancient holy battlefield to find a change. Wang Tai took a step forward, and said, Brother Fei, bring me along. I should be the only one who is familiar with the ancient holy battlefield here. I can help you. He was a bandit. Although he had been in the Devil Island for more than 10 years, he knew more about the matters of the ancient holy battlefield than anyone present. Long Fei thought for a moment, then said, Okay. Yang Nantian wanted to say something but hesitated. Lei Ju wanted to say something but hesitated. Many people wanted to follow Long Fei to the ancient holy battlefield, but they held back in the end. Because, compared to Long Fei, the Devil Island needed their protection even more. Only by guarding the Devil Island could Long Fei go further. They finally gave birth to a god, but they did not want Long Fei to die. The short discussion came to an end. Long Fei left the Devil Island with Wang Tai. Everyone wanted to see him off. Long Fei said, Wait for me, I will definitely bring you into the battleground, and Wang Tai disappeared into the horizon in the blink of an eye. Destiny God Mountain. Greetings, Son of God. It was once the residence of the Destiny God. However, it had now become Zhon Wushuang's residence. 10,000 meters underground. This place was normally isolated from the outside world, so no matter how strong the divine force was, they would not be able to sense it. The distance from here to hell was only a thin line. The erosion of the hell spirit had caused the divine power to be unable to sense the existence of this place. The soul cage. Zhon Wushuang stood in front of the cage and looked at the countless lights inside. No wonder Destiny God had always wanted to control the Devil Island, it's because he wanted to secretly cultivate the souls of the billions of lives in the Devil Island. If it's a dual rule, then he's definitely the strongest god in the main temple. But, even before completely cultivating the soul controlling, you were killed by Long Fei. Destiny God, oh Destiny God, what should I say about you? Unlucky? Is it still bad luck? Ha ha ha. However, don't worry. I will take revenge for you, and I will make Long Fei suffer a fate worse than death. Zhon Wushuang moved his right hand, releasing a dense amount of soul force. All of the souls in the soul cage were trembling. It was like the wails of hell. Buzz. Zhon Wushuang's 5 fingers turned sinister. Boom. A ray of light flew out from the spirit cage. From the light, Jojo struggled with all his might. Zhon Wushuang looked at Jojo and said, Phoenix Emperor, you are Long Fei's woman, right? Heh. From now on, Long Fei is your nemesis. Buzz. An idea was injected into Jojo's soul, and the struggling Jojo suddenly calmed down. Zhon Wushuang formed a hand seal with one hand and the power of the law of fate quickly condensed. Boom. Half a quarter of an hour later, Jojo stood in front of Zhon Wushuang with an ice-cold expression and the power of a phoenix suffused within his body. She was now an ice phoenix, cold as ice. Thousands, right? From now on, Long Fei is your archenemy. Boom. A cold light flashed in his eyes as his 1,000 bodies were reconstituted. Next, Long Fei's women were all remodeled one by one, and at the same time, their love for Long Fei was replaced with hatred, a variety of blood grudges. Zhon Wushuang looked at this group of women and laughed complacently. Long Fei, I've said it before, what you give me, I will repay you tens of thousands of times. Now that I'm using your woman to kill you, Are you going to kill me or not? What will happen when you meet them? Ha ha ha. It must be very interesting. I will slowly play with you, slowly play you to death. Zhong Wushuang said as he cut the nail on the wall. All of you, go with me. Long Fei has already arrived at the ancient holy battlefield. Go and find him, and kill him. Zhong Wushuang moved. Jojo and the others quickly flew out. They began to frantically search for Long Fei. Zhong Wushuang looked at the enormous soul cage and said slightly, Destiny God, the reason why you have yet to completely comprehend the soul controlling should be because you lack an extremely strong soul, right? Is this the Long Fei you were thinking about? However, heh. Zhong Wushuang smiled slightly. Long Fei's soul is indeed strong, but there is another person whose soul is even stronger, Shenyuan Liu. Bitch, Laozi is here. Wait until I grasp the power of 3 of the laws, then you, Long Fei, will be dead. Zhong Wushuang clenched his fists tightly. In the blink of an eye, he disappeared from where he stood. Brother Fei. This should be the ancient holy battlefield plain. This is called City of Martial Arts. Long Fei asked, How did you know? Wang Tai looked at the castle in the distance. I was abandoned here. Sorry. Chapter 1953, Rest assured, I will be the first one. Chapter 1953, Rest assured, I will be the first one. In City of Martial Arts, the city was as its name implied. There was a martial stage in the city. It was also the only martial arts arena in a radius of millions of kilometers and the only one in dozens of large cities. On the martial stage, a ranking board. Every martial artist had recorded that the higher one's ranking was, the higher their achievements would be in the martial arts arena. The top 3 martial artists in every year would be able to obtain the qualifications to enter the divine ranking. The divine ranking was an existence with the highest honor in the ancient holy battlefield. Brother Fei, this place is more realistic than the Devil Island. Everything depends on strength. Although there aren't people like you who can become gods through the faith of billions of lives, there are quite a few deities here, Wang Tai said as he looked at the city gate in front of him with a nervous expression. On the way, Wang Tai explained the situation of some of the City of Martial Arts to Long Fei. It was about the martial arts arena, about the divine list. Long Fei slightly nodded, and said, I understand. God. Very strong. Was he as strong as the Destiny God? Noticing that there was something wrong with Wang Tai's gaze, Long Fei asked, What's wrong? Wang Tai said softly, The guards at the city gate are from the Wang family. The person in the lead. Wang Tai's eyes turned sinister, he involuntarily clenched his fists, the heavy sword wrapped in black cloth released sets of rumbling sounds. The surrounding people were slightly shocked. Next. Everyone who enters the city must inspect them carefully. There are only 3 days left before the competition. This year, we will be hosting it with the Wang family. No mishap is allowed, do you understand? The speaker was a young man. He wore a set of white armor with a white tiger head embroidered on it. It was very awe-inspiring. The aura on his body was also incomparably strong. At any moment, he would be able to unleash an extremely strong explosive force. One glance was enough to tell that his cultivation was not low at all. It was just that, Wang Tai looked at him with resentment. Long Fei said indifferently, Do whatever you want to do. Now that you are my brother, no one can abandon you. Hearing Long Fei's words, Wang Tai calmed down instead. His aura relaxed, and he said, Boss, we are here to look for the entrance to Battleground. Although the City of Martial Arts is not a top-tier city, if you can enter the martial stage and then enter the heavenly ranking, you might be able to find the entrance to the Battleground, Wang Tai said. There are still 3 days until the martial arts arena competition. We can take a look. Long Fei could see the blazing fire in Wang Tai's eyes. He wanted to participate in the competition. If this was his hometown, Long Fei would also participate. He will use his strongest power to prove to those clansmen who abandoned him that I am back. Next. You too. The white-armored man looked at Wang Tai and his eyes tensed up. Wang Tai did not change his expression. Long Fei asked, What? Is there a problem? The man in white armor looked at Long Fei coldly. At this moment, another guard walked over and stared at Long Fei angrily, and said, "Brat, no problem, can't I stare at you a little more? Ah! Do you want to go into the city? Heh! Do you believe that I, your father, will make it so that you will never be able to enter the city again in your lifetime?" Long Fei smiled faintly and said, "I believe even more that if you said another word, you would be lying on the ground. You dare to make a ruckus with me, you mother-f***er." Not waiting for him to finish, the white-armored man immediately stopped him and smiled, "There's no problem, you guys can enter the city. City of Martial Arts welcomes you." Long Fei smiled lightly and walked towards the city in large strides. After Long Fei left, the guard immediately said, "Sixth young master, why did you stop me just now? I'll kill him in seconds for a country bumpkin like that." The Wang clan was ranked 6th, and they were known as the 6th young master. His name was Wang Jian, the White Tiger sect's guard commander. His status in the Wang family wasn't low. Wang Jian looked at Long Fei and Wang Tai, who had disappeared into the crowd, and said softly, "I keep having the feeling that I've seen that person before, but I just can't remember where I've seen him before. It's an emergency right now. People from all the major powers will be entering the city of martial arts. We can't affect the reputation of our family," Wang Jian said indifferently. He was still thinking about where he had seen Wang Tai before. Why was he so familiar? "Dear guest, are you going to stay here or do you want to work here? Our inn has the best conditions in the entire city, and our inn has specially set up a gambling match that will be placed on the martial arts ranking board. In addition, on the night before the martial arts ranking, our inn has a large-scale auction. Anyone who is a guest of our inn can participate in it for free." "How much for a night?" "It's very cheap. As long as it's 100 divine stones, and also has a VIP box, a luxurious suite that overlooks the entire city of martial arts, only requires 9,998 divine stones for one day." "Big brother, don't go. It's fine even if we don't have that many god stones. As long as you have something to pawn, we can still exchange it for you. Would the two guests like to stay in the restaurant?" The waiter stopped Long Fei and said, "I saw that you two experts were here to participate in the competition, right? We have the most professional training facilities, and I am not boasting here. In the entire city of martial arts, there is nothing better than us, and we also have master's guidance. I guarantee that you will make a breakthrough before the martial arts competition." Wang Tai replied, "We don't have money." The divine stone was the currency used in the ancient holy battlefield. It was another type of divine cultivation stone, similar to spirit stones. Long Fei said, "We didn't bring the divine stone, but why don't you take a look at this sword and see how much it costs?" The idea moved. Long Fei took out the god's holy swordess that he dropped from Destiny God's body. A sword light flashed out. Wang Tai immediately shivered, and said, "Boss, this is a treasured sword." When the waiter saw the god's holy sword, his eyes shone. He grabbed onto Long Fei's sleeves and said, "Boss, your sword." Not waiting for him to finish, a young and beautiful woman wearing hot clothes walked over. Looking at the god's holy sword in Long Fei's hands, she said directly, "I'll take 100,000 divine stones." Wang Tai looked at her, and his eyes moved. They recognized each other at a glance. The woman also looked at Wang Tai, but it was just that. Her eyes were filled with disdain. With just a glance, he did not pay any attention to it. The waitress saw the girl and immediately bowed, "Miss Chi." The woman looked at Long Fei, and said, "Sell 100,000 divine stones to me." His voice was cold. Seeing Long Fei's shocked face, a maid beside her sneered, "Miss, he must have been scared senseless by 100,000 divine stones. Look at their clothes. They look like countryside bums. They haven't seen the world at all. I wonder where this sword came from. Maybe it was stolen." Long Fei grinned and laughed. "How do you know that?" "I stole it." "How? You don't accept it?" The maid glared at him and coldly snorted, "One look and you are definitely not a good person." "Yeah. How? Bite me." Long Fei was unhappy. The pretty girl said, 100,000 divine stones, give me the sword." Long Fei coldly glanced at them, and said, "I'm not selling." The pretty girl's eyes immediately turned cold. In city of martial arts, no one dares to reject me, and those who do will usually die. Long Fei said straightforwardly, "Don't worry, I will be the first one." Chapter 1954, God's Commercial Alliances. Chapter 1954, God's Commercial Alliances. The woman was very strong. Long Fei did not buy it. Wang Tai, who was at the side, would look at the beautiful woman from time to time, his eyes revealing an indescribable expression. Joy. There was shock. Similarly lonely. It was very obvious that he recognized the woman with a single glance. However, the woman didn't even look at her. Her gaze was still filled with disgust and contempt. At this moment, "Sis, who's bullying you?" A man walked out of the inn. Wang Tai could not help but lower his head slightly. The servant girl beside Qiziana pointed angrily at Long Fei and said, "Even he stole the sword from who knows where. My family's young miss has taken a fancy to it." Humph. The man looked at Long Fei and said slightly, "It is your blessing that Miss Xiana has taken a liking to your sword and did not care about face, or else, the sword and the divine stone, you would not be able to obtain either." Qiziana was very strong. However, this man was even more domineering. The surrounding people began to discuss in low voices. The young master of the Wang family. Wang Zhong isn't an ordinary person. He treats Qiziana so well. Of course, that's his fiancé. I heard that in the past, Qiziana's fiancé was not the eldest young master, Wang Zhong, but the second young master. That was more than a decade ago. Second young master has passed away a long time ago. Hearing the discussions around him, Long Fei's heart secretly shivered, and he thought to himself, no wonder the way Wang Tai looks at Qiziana is different. She was once his fiancée. However, Long Fei looked at Wang Tai. Wang Tai shook his head slightly. Long Fei laughed faintly. "I like to not care about face when it's given to me. Why do you think that you can do this to me? Brat, come if you dare." Wang Zhong's gaze turned sinister as he said, "You refuse a toast only to be punished." Suddenly, Wang Zhong took a step forward. Buzz. The entire supreme force in his body vibrated, and the vigorous godly power instantly surged out. The surrounding people were instantly forced back several steps. Long Fei didn't even move as he watched Wang Zhong's fist strike down on him. The corner of his mouth slightly curled up as he said, "You think you can stand up for a woman with a strength like yours?" Not waiting for Wang Zhong's fist to land, Long Fei slapped him hard. Pa. Wang Zhong fell to the ground and was slapped flat onto the ground. With his face heavily smashed into the ground, his entire body bounced up. Long Fei stomped on Wang Zhong's head again, coldly snorting as he asked, "Who gave you face?" 2 moves. The young master of the Wang family was one of the best among the younger generation. It was instantly crush. The expressions of the surrounding people suddenly changed. Qiziana's expression also slightly darkened, but there wasn't that kind of fear. On the contrary, there was an extra tinge of gloominess in her eyes. "You dare to make a move on the Wang clan? Is this kid crazy? Who is this kid? You want to die? Do you want to fight the Wang family in City of Martial Arts? My God. This kid is dead for sure." The corner of Long Fei's mouth curved up as he bent down to look at Wang Zhong, who was bleeding from the corner of his mouth. Wang Zhong glared at Long Fei and said, "Kid, do you know who I am? If you attack me, your time of death is up." Before he could finish his words, "Pa." Long Fei slapped him again. "What did you say? I didn't hear it clearly." It was incomparably loud. Once again, Wang Zhong was slapped to the ground. This time around, he simply turned into a dead dog and didn't move at all. Long Fei raised his eyes slightly, looked at Qiziana and said with contempt, "Your fiancé is this kind of trash? If you can't withstand a single blow, why don't you? What do you think of my brother? Just be his wife and treat this sword as a greeting gift." Long Fei said with a smile. Wang Tai's eyes moved. Qiziana did not even look at Wang Tai, his eyes becoming colder and colder. Maid beside him mocked, "Who the hell is he? Is she worthy of my miss? Don't think you can defeat Wang Zhong just because you think you're amazing. This is the city of martial arts, not some countryside bumpkin." A cool breeze blew past. Pa. A slap flew out. Long Fei laughed. If you weren't a woman, you would already be dead. The 5-finger marks on the servant girl's cheeks were clearly visible. She was bleeding from the corner of her mouth, her eyes were spinning, she did not know how to block that slap, and even more so, did not know that Long Fei dared to attack him. The space between Qixiana's eyebrows tightened. The corner of Long Fei's eyes moved as he looked at her. He gave a cold and disdainful laugh. So what if you pretend to be noble and noble? Finished. Long Fei immediately threw the Heavenly King's sword to the waiter, and said, I will leave this sword with you. I will deduct it from this sword when I have time to eat, if I have money, I will redeem it. Finished. Long Fei then walked into the inn. Wang Tai looked at Qixiana. Qixiana was obviously looking at him with disgust. Finally, Wang Tai exhaled lightly and followed Long Fei into the inn. His heart was in pain, as though it was being torn apart. The waiter was grinning from ear to ear, but he did not dare to act rashly. He couldn't afford to offend someone who could instantly crush Wang Zhong without the slightest fear. Seeing Long Fei walk into the inn, he immediately said, Young master, what do you think about this? The day after tomorrow, there will be an auction. If I auction this sword of yours, I will definitely be able to get a very high price. Long Fei waved his hand and said, Do as you wish. Get us 2 top sweets first. The waiter hurriedly said, All right, the 2 young masters, please follow me. Don't worry. Although the city of martial arts is a king, Qi, and Zhao 3 great families have control, but we, the gods' commercial alliances, cannot afford to offend them. As long as we are in the inn, the safety of the 2 of you will be protected by us, the gods' commercial alliances. They will not dare to do anything to you, but you must remember one thing, when we exit the inn, we will not be able to protect you. The waiter quickly said. Even he couldn't say it himself, but the feeling Long Fei gave him was very special. His intuition told him that Long Fei was not simple. The moment he made a move, he would become a holy artifact. When he made a move, he would crush Wang Zhong. Such people were either crazy, or perhaps he was the descendant of a certain powerhouse. Wang Tai explained in a low voice to Long Fei, the Gods' Commercial Alliances is one of the most famous merchant guilds in the primordial divine war. Every city has their own trade name. Gods' Commercial Alliances does all kinds of business, and once we enter their shop, we will be protected by their merchant union. Normal families would not be able to do anything to him. The World Merchant Union was actually a huge power. This power needed a strong power to support it, and countless powerhouses were worshipped by the Merchant Union. City of Martial Arts' family did not offend him at all. The waiter smiled, this young master is right, the 2 of you can live here without worry. God's Commercial Alliances was far more than this. It was much more powerful than Long Fei had imagined. Chapter 1955 Exquisite. Chapter 1955 Exquisite. We're here. The waiter brought Long Fei to the 8th floor of the inn, as well as 2 separate rooms. The waiter said, the 9th floor. The 10th floor is already occupied. The 8th floor is currently the best room. The furnishings were luxurious and extravagant. It could be said that the presidential suite of a 5-star hotel in his previous life was only mediocre. If even the 8th floor was like this, then what would the rooms on the 9th and 10th floors be like? It was hard to imagine. Long Fei was satisfied. Earlier, you said that there was a cultivation room in the inn? Master's pointers. The waiter immediately said, the 4th floor of the hotel is specially designed for cultivation. There are martial arts masters in the training hall, but the training hall is completely free of charge, but the guidance of a master requires a certain fee. All right. You can leave first. I'll call you if there's anything. Long Fei waved his hand. The waiter mysteriously smiled and said, My lord, I won't bother you any longer. Your room has a mysterious surprise waiting for you. With that, he led Long Fei out of the room. The room was huge, a huge suite. Moreover, Long Fei could only see the hall, but not the room. Wang Tai said, Brother Fei, I'm going to rest first. Long Fei said, Go. When Wang Tai returned to the city of martial arts, the world was different. No one remembered him anymore. His fiancée had also become his big brother's fiancée, and it had no effect on him at all. Time was changing. Everything was changing. Wang Tai didn't blame anyone, but he wanted to know the answer to why he abandoned him back then. He closed the door. A mysterious surprise. Long Fei grinned and chuckled. What kind of mysterious surprise is this? He walked around the screen and entered the room. Two extremely beautiful twin girls with identical appearances were lying on a large bed. Their eyes were lovely and charming, as if they could captivate a person to their soul. Exquisite. It was a temptation that no man could resist. Moreover, this top-quality twins were not humans, but rather demons and foxes. Naturally bewitching. Every inch of his skin flashed with temptation. My lord. A lady hooked her fingers at Long Fei. Her voice was soft and gentle, bringing with it a sense of spoiled love, causing people's bones to go soft. F***CK. It really is a fucking mysterious surprise. Long Fei grinned. God's commercial alliances is truly extraordinary. Lord, you can do whatever you want. Come on. The two of them sat on the bed and looked straight at Long Fei. Long Fei laughed sinisterly and said, "So what? Who's afraid of who?" Immediately, Long Fei walked over, and the two girls welcomed him. It had been raining for hours. This battle was a hearty one. This was the first time they had left Chaos Realm. It was a great experience, and the two twins could be said to have reached the state of unlocking 108 moves. This reminded Long Fei of a city on Earth in his previous life. Good luck with your life. It happened so suddenly. Not just suddenly. When Long Fei saw the pure white bed sheets, he was even more sudden. His breathing was a little rough, giving Long Fei a sense of satisfaction he had never felt before. This was the charm of the fox woman. What kind of existence is this God's commercial alliances exactly? To be able to capture Fox Woman and train him to such an extent, it could be said that he would not be able to do it without a certain level of strength. The God's commercial alliances was definitely not as simple as the Merchant Union. There must be a huge power supporting him from behind. It stopped for a moment. Long Fei slowly got up and dressed himself. Seeing that the two girls were still sleeping soundly, he did not go and disturb them. Long Fei smiled slightly. I wonder how Wang Tai is enjoying it. Long Fei walked to Wang Tai's room and discovered that there was no one inside, and there was no rare beauty on the bed. Where did he go? At this time, the waiter walked up and asked, "Sir, are you satisfied with the service?" Long Fei replied, "Satisfied." He was more than satisfied. He was quite satisfied. Long Fei said, "The two of them." The waiter said, "The fox race specializes in serving distinguished guests like you. The few days you're here, they will serve you well until you leave." Long Fei casually asked, "And then? What will happen to them?" The waiter smiled and said, "It will be sent to another place." Long Fei said, "A brothel?" The waiter smiled, but he did not say anything and silently agreed. In other words, these trained fox woman-s would be sent to the brothel as virgins, because they're not worth much anymore. Long Fei's heart trembled. He let out a light breath and asked, "Where is my brother?" The waiter immediately said, "He went out. When he left, he told me to tell you not to worry about him." Returning to the city of martial arts, there were too many things that Wang Zhong wanted to do. He wanted to do these things alone, and also didn't want to implicate Long Fei. Long Fei nodded his head and said, "Bring me to the 4th floor, see if there is anything interesting." The waiter said, "Follow me." The 4th floor was a huge training hall. And there was even a special training space. To be able to move the training space into an improved once again the strength of the God's commercial alliances. Boom. What a powerful punch, to actually be able to unleash 6,800,000 battle power. This punch will definitely be able to instantly kill a magical beast of the 8th rank. So powerful. This time's martial arts competition will definitely get into the top 100. Long Fei walked into the training hall and saw a sturdy man throw out a punch. With the strength of his back and horse as one with his mind, he erupted all of a sudden and almost mobilized all of the strength in his body. He had to say it. This punch was almost perfect. At this time, a relatively frail-looking man walked over with a gentle smile. What's the use of brute force? This is not a competition of strength. Besides, no one would be stupid enough to stand there and let you hit them. Finished. The man's footsteps moved, and his figure started moving. Phantom images appeared everywhere. It made it difficult to see where he was coming from, and it was even more impossible to see where he was going to make a move from. Boom. Suddenly, a loud sound echoed out. The machine that was testing combat strength let out a wailing roar. The entire training hall was shaken. On the machine, there was a shocking number, 8 million combat strength. Having high battle prowess was secondary, the key lay in his cultivation technique. A battle strength of 8 million is too terrifying. I'm still 200,000 away from breaking 10 million. Work harder, this way you can get a big gift from God's commercial alliances. With more than 10 million battle strength, one could receive a reward. Long Fei asked, what reward? The top-quality twin girls made Long Fei secretly rejoice, as he knew that his God's commercial alliances had an extraordinary skill. What would this mysterious reward be? The waiter said, mystery gift, of course it's mystery. People at my level definitely don't know about it. Master, do you want to try it? Long Fei laughed and said, let's play. Chapter 1956, Combat Strength Test. Chapter 1956, Combat Strength Test. The God's commercial alliances was incomparably powerful. Every part of it showed the depth of its foundation. Long Fei could be considered to be someone who had experienced many realms. He had never seen a merchant union that was this strong. Long Fei walked forward. At this time, just as he was about to take the test, 4 people walked in. He instantly pushed Long Fei to the side and shouted, we, the young master, will test our fighting strength. All of you, move to the side. The 4 of them had a very strong aura about their cultivation bases. However, Long Fei was not in a good mood. When the waiter saw the man who walked in, he immediately pulled on Long Fei's sleeves and said softly, young city lord of Spirit Mountain City, his cultivation is at the lower god. His appearance caused the people in the training hall to tense up. It's the young master of Spirit Mountain City, Lin Cheng. Lower god realm. Why is he here? Could it be that he was also here to participate in this martial arts competition? But he is a lower god cultivator. Is there a need to participate in the competition? Haven't you heard? The competition this year will be different from the previous ones. Whoever wins first place will receive a great treasure bestowed by the main temple. Who doesn't want the main temple's rewards? Forget about lower god, I'm afraid even middle god would appear in this year's competition. Furthermore, the competition for the divine ranking is even more intense. Long Fei didn't care whether he was a lower god or a young city lord, and said, everything needs to be paid attention to first come first serve. If you want to take the test, then line up at the back. Long Fei pushed the person blocking his way aside and walked to the side of the testing machine. Lin Cheng's forehead turned sinister. Immediately, the 4 servants encircled Long Fei, and one of them said, brat, why don't you see who our young master is? Ask our young lord to line up. Who do you think you are? Long Fei laughed, it's the rule. It's not good to break the rule. Right. I want to test my fighting strength, so I'll have to trouble you to scram to the side. Otherwise, it'll be bad if you get injured by me. Long Fei's body slightly shook. The 4 servants immediately snorted coldly and shouted, you ignorant brat, you want to hurt us? Why don't you take a piss instead of trying your best? Not waiting for him to finish. Long Fei's right hand moved, his right hand striking the battle machine. At this moment, the 4 servants started to move at the same time. Brat, I think you're tired of living. You want to die. He attacked at the same time. 4 powerful strikes came crashing down heavily, as though 4 savage beasts wreaking havoc in the wilderness. Everyone's face changed. Crap, that kid is going to die. Is he crazy? He dared to fight against the Spirit Mountain 4 beasts. They are all abnormal powerhouse with a fighting strength of over 10 million, and they are all beast races. It's over, it's over. At this moment, in the distant training hall, a white-haired old man opened his eyes slightly. Shua. The white robe blurred and instantly appeared in front of Long Fei. The supreme force around his body burst out like a shield and formed a shield. Buzz, buzz, buzz. The power of the four servants struck the shield and it exploded, but the white-haired old man remained motionless. His power was completely blocked by the shield and he was not hurt at all. The defense of this shield. It had to be said. It was extremely thick and powerful. Inside Long Fei's astral shield, he could clearly feel this kind of power. It was even stronger than the defenses of his Holy Spirit defense. So fierce. Long Fei was secretly shocked in his heart. The aura of the white-haired master disappeared. The expression of the four servants changed as they looked towards their master, Lin Cheng, at the same time. The old man said, "You have to pay attention to the rules." Lin Cheng smiled slightly. "Master is right. We have to listen to the rules. Just now when this brat attacked my family servant, he already broke the gods' commercial alliances' rules." Long Fei laughed. Lin Cheng disdainfully said, "Master, I'm not wrong, right? Take the initiative." Moreover, Long Fei was indeed the one who made the first move, but his target was the machine, and just happened to be blocked by four servants in front of him. The white-haired master said, "Sir Lin, please first." Ha ha ha. Lin Cheng began to laugh loudly, and said, "I like this point of your god's commercial alliances, as long as you follow the rules." As he spoke, he looked at Long Fei and disdainfully sneered. "Kid, learn to be smarter in the future. Everyone has to follow the rules, but sometimes, there are places that are unruly. At that time, people will die." Lin Cheng walked to Long Fei's side and deliberately put on his shoulder. And then, Lin Cheng said, "Only someone like you could survive in God's commercial alliances, and already died 18 times outside. You still want to test your combat strength?" Humph. While they were talking, Lin Cheng's body suddenly moved. Wang, lower God's power exploded. Powerful energy wreaked havoc everywhere, and the entire training hall was shaking. The tables, and all kinds of furniture were falling apart. This was Lin Cheng's intention. At this moment, streams of strong pressure pressed down onto Long Fei's body. The white-haired old man frowned. He wanted to help Long Fei block it, but he realized. Long Fei remained completely unmoved, as if he did not receive the slightest bit of pressure. Pressure. The might of the lower god. What a joke. The coercion of the main temple were useless against him. How could a mere lower god's coercion cause the slightest bit of damage to Long Fei? The white-haired old man was shocked. "I didn't see that. His cultivation is actually not lower than the lower god." However, from Lin Cheng's point of view, it was the white-haired master protecting Long Fei. Otherwise, Long Fei would have died a long time ago. "Country bumpkin, open your eyes wide and take a good look. I'll show you what fighting strength is." Boom. He took a step forward and his holy power value surged. All the strength in his body gathered onto his fist and he punched the combat strength machine. The number on the machine rose crazily. 9 million points. 10 million points. 17 million. 20 million. 28 million. The final number was 28 million. The entire audience was shocked. 28 million battle strength. Peak of the first level of lower god. Oh my god, isn't this too fierce? The lower god had a fighting strength of about 20 million, and 28 million was equivalent to a first stage lower god. A fierce competition. A pleased smile surfaced on Lin Cheng's face as he turned around to look at Long Fei and said, "Did you see it clearly, country bumpkin? Are you convinced?" "Unconvinced." Lin Cheng ridiculed. "Next, I would like to invite us country bumpkins to test our fighting strength. Come, let us experience your fighting strength." Ha ha ha. Ha ha ha. Many people began to laugh. Long Fei's clothes were a little different, and adding on her silvery white hair, she looked just like a different person. "Come on. Didn't you want to test your combat strength?" The test. "Did you see my fighting strength tremble?" Lin Cheng fiercely stepped on Long Fei. Long Fei laughed, and then walked straight to the fighting machine, his left hand slightly sticking to it, power of Buddha flowing out. Chapter 1957, 48 million. Chapter 1957, 48 million. The power of Buddha moved. And then, he placed his palm on the combat ability machine and exploded. Buzz. A burst of power burst forth from his arm, and a loud buzzing sound filled the air, just like the sound of a Buddhist bell being rung. Next. Berserk mode. The numbers jumped crazily. 10 million battle strength. 23 million. 29 million in battle power, more than that. Heavens, it's still beating. 36 million battle power. 40 million. It's still rising, it's still rising. Oh God, how is this possible? Could he also be a powerhouse? The number on the machine was still increasing. It was still increasing crazily. The white-haired old man's eyes lit up, looking at Long Fei's calm face. He thought in his heart, expert. Boom. Boom. The final number displayed on the combat strength machine was 48 million. Everyone in the training hall was dumbfounded and forgot to breathe. Their eyes were glued to the combat strength machine, unable to make a single sound. Lin Cheng's face became extremely ugly. Pretty ugly. It was as if he was slapped in the face. The feeling made him feel extremely uncomfortable. He stared straight at Long Fei, and his fists clenched so tightly that crackling sounds could be heard. 48 million battle power. This cultivation, I'm afraid it has already reached the third stage of lower god, right? This. Isn't that too terrifying? Just a single punch like that actually has such a powerful explosive force. Unbelievable. He has completely suppressed the young city lord of Spirit Mountain City. Long Fei patted the dust off his hands, looking at the number on the fighting strength machine. He grinned, and thought to himself, the power of Buddha's explosive strength is only less than 50 million. A little less. Long Fei was a little dissatisfied. However, if anyone knew what he was thinking, they would definitely beat him to death. 50 million battle prowess, just how terrifying was this person? Of course. This was not all of Long Fei's strength. If he used his full strength. Long Fei looked at the fighting strength machine, and thought, let's test out our fighting strength later. And then, Long Fei turned around and did not even look at Lin Cheng, but walked in front of the white-haired master and smiled. Master, didn't you say that as long as you have more than 10 million battle prowess, you will receive a mysterious prize? What is it? The gods' commercial alliances was powerful. Long Fei had already seen the Fox twins in the room. The mysterious reward definitely wasn't simple. The white-haired master stroked his beard with a smile. Yes. Someone will deliver it to your room. As for what it is, this old man has no idea. So it's like that. Then I'll leave first. Long Fei immediately walked out of the training hall after he finished speaking. Moreover, he still ignored the young city lord of Spirit Mountain City. After finishing his punch, Long Fei didn't even spare him a glance. They didn't care at all. This was the highest level of contempt. Because, you don't even have the qualifications to be looked down upon by me. Just as Long Fei was about to walk out of the cultivation grounds, Lin Cheng suddenly shouted in anger, "Wait!" A loud shout rang out. Lin Cheng said, "Brat, I want to challenge you." Long Fei did not stop at all, and directly walked out. Your 28 million fighting strength is not enough, go play on the side. Ha ha ha. Ha ha ha. Many people began to laugh. Lin Cheng's face turned even uglier. Since when was he humiliated like this? He is the young city lord of Spirit Mountain City. He was a lower god of the lower god. Being humiliated by a country bumpkin was something he couldn't tolerate. Immediately, Lin Cheng's face changed as all the power in his body burst forth. His 5 fingers formed a claw as he grabbed towards the back of Long Fei's head and shouted loudly, "You dog, I will take your life today." A sudden explosion. His speed was extremely fast. Powerful divine force surged as it pounced forward in all directions. The waiter's eyes widened as he warned, "Be careful, my lord." And then, the waiter took a step and stood behind Long Fei. He stared at Lin Cheng and the supreme force on his body moved. Wang. A thick air shield made of supreme force burst out. It formed a thick layer of defense. It wrapped around Long Fei, and at the same time, Lin Cheng threw out a move. Buzz. The astral shield was blocked. Lin Cheng's fingers suddenly bent. Crack, crack. The sound of joints breaking rang out. Long Fei's heart trembled. Damn, even the waiter is so powerful. Isn't this way too terrifying? Long Fei did not notice the waiter's cultivation. The divine shield that erupted from his body was actually able to defend against Lin Cheng, who was at the first stage of lower god. How terrifying was this? However, although the backlash from Lin Cheng's palm had shattered, Lin Cheng's anger still assaulted his heart. Being blocked by a waiter made him feel like he had suffered a great humiliation. You dog! Are you even worthy to stop me? With a flick of his left hand, an even more powerful palm came crashing down. The previous attack had been broken. Moreover, the waiter only knew this move, and the reason he practiced this move was to protect his customers. At this time, the time it took for him to release the shield was not enough. The waiter's eyebrows tightened. There was no other way, he could only bear it with his life on the line. The waiter's legs sank as he stood firmly. Die! Lin Cheng shouted. At this moment, Long Fei moved his strength slightly, and kicked out. Boom! Without waiting for Lin Cheng's attack to fall, he was kicked flying by Long Fei. He hit the wall heavily. The wall had a special kind of defensive power, but it was still trembling slightly. Phut! Blood trickled from the corner of his mouth. Lin Cheng's face was incomparably pale. He was in an extremely sorry state. The last attack could be said to have been an instant kill. The white-haired old man was once again shocked. The waiter was secretly grateful in his heart. He would definitely not be able to withstand the palm strike he just left. Even if he didn't die, he would at least be severely injured. Long Fei's gaze sank as he stared at the pale-faced Lin Cheng, and said, "Don't be cocky in front of me, or else you'll die a terrible death." Finished. He turned around and left. The awesome one. Peak of the first level of lower god. No experience. Although Long Fei was also at the first stage of lower god, he needed too much experience to level up. This kind of experience was not enough. And even if he wanted to kill Lin Cheng, the people from the gods' commercial alliances would stop him. The entire stadium was silent once again. Looking at Long Fei's disappearing figure, even he was excited in his heart. The white-haired old man walked to Lin Cheng's side and said coldly, "From now on, all the merchants in God's commercial alliances are not allowed to take even half a step inside." What is this? This is a blacklist. Moreover, they thought that their Spirit Mountain city would be forcefully suppressed by the God's commercial alliances. He couldn't afford the consequences. Lin Cheng's face froze and her lips trembled. She wanted to say something, but no matter what, she couldn't get it out. On the way back to his room, the waiter said gratefully, "Thank you, my lord, for saving me." Long Fei grinned and asked, "What is the mysterious reward this time? Will you reward the two foxes?" Chapter 1958 Ultra Fierce Man, Li Yuanba. Chapter 1958 Ultra Fierce Man, Li Yuanba. Long Fei's thoughts were all on the mysterious prize. It was just like how one looked forward to a special reward from the system. With regards to the waiter's words of thanks, Long Fei acted as if he did not hear them. Actually, he was telling the waiter not to take it to heart. Blocking bullets for him. Long Fei will protect her with his life. Not to mention a fellow, even if it was anyone, Long Fei would still put his life on the line to fight. The waiter's heart was filled with gratitude as he said, "Sir, you just released 48 million battle prowess. According to the rules of the training hall, you will receive a treasure that is almost at the semi-artifact level. It could have been something else. However, Lord, if you can break the record, then you'll be able to acquire even more powerful treasures." Long Fei was startled, and said, "Break the record? How much combat power?" The waiter said, 99 million battle prowess is also the maximum that the battle strength machine in the training hall can bear. 99 million battle strength. Long Fei was secretly shocked. The power of Buddha was able to unleash a battle prowess of 48 million, not even half of it. 99 million battle prowess. It was no small matter. This person must be extremely terrifying. Long Fei could not help but ask, then this person must have a very high cultivation. The waiter said, his cultivation is not high, and he is only at the first level of lower god, but his strength is actually the strongest person I have ever met. The white headmaster in the training hall said that that person is naturally born with godly strength, and his strength is not just average. It seems to be fused with all kinds of powerful godly strength. I was there. With a light punch, the battle machine issued a painful groan. It doesn't even have any explosive power. I can't even see the flow of his power clearly with my cultivation. The waiter's eyes were filled with shock as he recalled this. First level of lower god. A battle strength of 99 million. This was no ordinary pervert, but a super pervert. The other side only had a fighting strength of 20 million, he was just close to 100 million, and the waiter didn't seem to have all of his strength. This was even more terrifying. The ancient holy battlefield really has all kinds of powerful and abnormal people. Long Fei muttered, "What does that person look like?" He asked casually. The waiter said, "He is over 2 meters tall, and his physique is extremely sturdy. His eyes are like angry Buddha, with a big bald head, half of his body, and every muscle on his body like steel plates. As long as you see it, you won't be able to recognize it." Incredible. The waiter excitedly said. Long Fei was slightly shocked, and muttered, "Why does it feel like it's a big dumb guy, Li Yuanba?" And then, Long Fei shook his head again, and said, 8 King Kong is still in hell, why would they appear in ancient holy battlefield? Sigh. I wonder how their cultivation is progressing. Long Fei missed him a lot in his heart. How was 8 King Kong's journey to hell? Long Fei really wanted to know. However, he believed that his father would one day meet with the 8 King Kong again. Achoo. 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 God's Hotel, first floor. In a dark, damp room, there was a bald looby with a heavy sarcophagus beside him, who had sneezed 3 times in a row. Scratching his head, he muttered, "Who's talking about me? Is it that kid Tian Ling, or that shorty, Ahat? Could it be the boss?" Li Yuanba was confused. At this time, a subordinate walked over and said, "Looby, it's your turn to go up on stage. Boss said that as long as you can win this match, you can have anything you want." Li Yuanba stood up, gently lifting the sarcophagus beside him onto his back. He looked at the servant and said in a silly manner, "I do not need anything, as long as there is someone here that I can fight." After which, he walked out with large strides. God's Hotel, first floor. It was also an underground boxing ring. Gambling in one body under the ground. After walking through a long dark tunnel, they arrived at an empty place. The surroundings were blocked by a kind of array boundary and it was filled with people outside of the boundary. Killing king, killing king, killing king. At this moment, inside boundary, a fatty who was completely covered in blood was standing there. He looked fat with bloodshot eyes and carried a huge butcher's knife on his shoulder. The strength in his body surged and was incomparably dense. Divine light rippled beneath his feet as rings after rings rippled outwards. His cultivation was powerful. Is not any weaker than the 3rd stage of lower god. The most important thing was his fat meat. These fat meat seemed like a burden to his body, but it was his strongest defense. At this moment, Li Yuanba walked out of the dark tunnel and the entire audience immediately quietened down. Looby, 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 looby. The entire audience was in an uproar. In a VIP box, a man stood in front of the window and asked, "Is he the looby who consecutively won 99 matches this month?" The other man who was leaning against the sofa said excitedly, "That's him. Brother Chen, what do you think of him?" Chen Xiong stared at Looby and said gently, "His steps are steady and his spirit is restrained. He looks like an ordinary person. To be able to hide his strength to such an extent, he is definitely not a simple person." Ha ha ha. Chen Xiong has good eyesight. If you were to see him in the outside world, you would definitely not notice that he has some sort of power, but this guy is a battle machine. Once in the cage, it's as if he's a completely different person. The man squinted his eyes and said, Chen Xiong looked at Li Yuanba, and could not help but ask, "Why is there a huge coffin on his back?" The man said, "I don't know either. No one knows, and no one has seen him use it. However, that coffin weighs over 10,000 jin. If he took it off, his speed would be even more terrifying." Amidst the cheers, Li Yuanba stepped into the cage. In that instant, the aura on his body abruptly changed. Enormous power was burning, and white steam was continuously revolving around it. It wasn't the burning of divine power. It was pure energy that was burning. The king of killers butcher's eyes turned vicious. The giant big butcher in his hand shook, and the god power on his body formed a suppressive force that was like a ferocious beast roaring as it pounced forward. He was completely domineering in the Tao of the sword. Li Yuanba's eyes widened as he clenched his fist. Buzz! A burst of power exploded from both his arms, shattering the pressure from the butcher. At the same time, the butcher's blade cut down, die. Li Yuanba's eyes opened wide, and he threw a punch out. It was an unbiased attack on the butcher's giant big butcher. Crack! The butcher's knife shattered. Crack! The butcher's chest had a fist imprint. The butcher flew out and crashed onto boundary as his entire body bounced off, unconscious. One punch on the sleigh. His saber and its owner were sent flying. A super tough guy. Chapter 1959 Mysterious Reward. Chapter 1959 Mysterious Reward 100 consecutive victories. To break City of Martial Arts' record of winning in a row. It caused quite a sensation. In the box. Brother Chen, 100 consecutive victories. This has broken your family's record, how about it? Can you bear this tone? The man had a smile on his face. The smile looked as though it was hiding a sharp blade, staring at Li Yuanba who was walking out of the boundaries cage. In the previous match, he lost yet again. Moreover, this was the 100th battle in a row. He lost nearly 10 million divine stones. Chen Xiong narrowed his eyes slightly, to not stop even after winning 100 consecutive rounds. How ignorant can he be? A sliver of interest flashed across the man's eyes. Brother Chen, is your tiger man willing to leave the mountain? When he comes out of the mountain, this big guy will only get insta-killed. And we can make a fortune. Chen Xiong slightly smiled and said, this big guy cultivates pure strength. No matter how strong he is, he can't be compared to a divine cultivator. No matter how strong he is, he's no match for him. This is his weakness. The man's eyes shone with excitement as he said, do you have a way to deal with it? Chen Xiong retorted, how much can you pay? The man said, I lost 10 million on him. I can pay another 10 million. With his current odds, we can earn 10 times the profit. When the time comes, you will definitely be able to purchase a weapon that will satisfy your heart at the auction in God's commercial alliances. How about it? Chen Xiong smiled. All right. However, my Chen clan has never fought a battle with no confidence in winning. Since we are going to do it, we must definitely not let him have any chance of winning. Chen Xiong Yin said coldly. The man also smiled and said, don't worry, I've already prepared everything. Ha! Ha ha ha! Ha ha ha! The two of them burst into laughter at the same time. To win 100 matches in a row was no different from a myth. The entire underground boxing ring shook. The higher-ups of the City of Martial Arts were also shocked. Lord, winning 100 rounds in a row is enough to break the Chen family's Tiger Man record. Moreover, this big guy doesn't seem to have any intention of stopping. What do you think? The God's commercial alliances was in charge, and the various elders in the hall were reporting on their work. A middle-aged man in his 30s or 40s said with his hands behind his back, 100 consecutive victories is quite interesting. This big guy cultivates strength. He has inborn divine strength, and he doesn't use any divine power at all. He's not simple at all. All of these 100 matches will be executed in one move. His payout also went up, now it's already up to 112. What is his purpose? An elder asked. He exploded with 99 million battle strength with a single punch, and now he has won another 100 battles in a row in the underground boxing ring. What is he trying to do? This. I don't know. It said that he was waiting for someone, but who would wait for someone like that? Continuously winning 100 rounds has created a legend. Adding his current odds, I'm worried that there will be a true powerhouse coming out for the next round. That's not something we should worry about. Everyone began to discuss. The god's rudder did not speak further. Did something happen today? The white-haired old man from the cultivation hall stood up and said, "Today, someone from the training hall fought for 48 million and defeated the young city lord of Spirit Mountain City in one move. I have already blacklisted the young city lord. 48 million fighting strength. This is nothing compared to that big guy, not even half. To be able to defeat the young master of the Spirit Mountain City in one move, with the strength of 48 million, there shouldn't be anything special." The white-haired old man said, "Let me feel." He's hiding his true strength. In his mind, he recalled the scene where Long Fei made his move, his left fist exerted force, and lightly touched it. The palm's sudden eruption did not have any preparation at all, it was just suddenly. In other words, he could do it from the heart, instantly exploding out with power. God's rudder said, "Since you feel that he is not simple, then pay more attention to him. Also, how is the preparation for God's commercial alliances' auction going? There will be many mysterious powers participating in this auction. We must prepare for it." An elder's forehead shook as he asked, "Sir, are you here for that thing?" God's rudder frowned. The elder immediately lowered his head, not daring to speak. God's rudder said solemnly, "The less you know about that thing, the better. We can't discuss it in private. Also, Master Whitehair, I just remembered that the god's holy sword came from that man's hands. This thing is from the main temple, he could be one of them, you must be careful," God's rudder warned. The white-haired elder immediately said, "This subordinate understands." God's rudder said again, "It's about his reward." After pondering for a moment, the leader took out a purple card from his robes and said, "Give this to him." Purple diamond card? Lord, isn't this reward too big? Yeah, this is a purple diamond card. Purple diamond card. The existence of the god's commercial alliances was second only to the sky drill card. It could access any place in the god's commercial alliances, and all items had a 20% discount. Moreover, it was a symbol of identity. There were very few purple diamond card released, not to mention the city of martial arts, there were very few of them even in the entire ancient god battle continent. The god's rudder said slightly, "If he really is someone from main temple, then this card is equivalent to our god's commercial alliances' pass. If not, it doesn't matter, one god's holy sword is enough." The white-haired elder said, "I will do it immediately. F***CK. Just one card." Long Fei looked at the purple diamond card in his hands, and said unhappily, "Why don't you give me a few more fox girls? How boring." He thought it was something else. He casually threw away the purple diamond card and didn't look at it anymore. The waiter and the two fox womaness were shocked speechless. Purple diamond card, how powerful was its energy? The patriarchs of the three city of martial arts could not even beg while kneeling on the ground, yet Long Fei had a look of despise on his face, and did not even spare him a glance. This caused the white-haired elder, who had been secretly observing Long Fei, to be shocked. If he doesn't even put the purple diamond card in his eyes, then he... Could it really be the people from the main temple? If he isn't someone from the main temple, then this person really doesn't know anything. How big was the god's commercial alliances? How many people could treat purple diamond card as nothing? Long Fei's identity was not simple. Not only that. Furthermore, it was not simple. Just as Long Fei was feeling depressed, a bloody hand grabbed onto the door frame. Phut! Wang Tai's entire body was covered in blood, the bones on his back turned black, and a few of them were broken. Heavily wounded. Chapter 1960. Don't be a slut if you have nothing to do, understand? Chapter 1960. Don't be a slut if you have nothing to do, understand? Long Fei's gaze tensed up. One step forward, he immediately supported Wang Tai and said, "What's going on?" Wang Tai's face turned white, and revealed a bitter smile. He shook his head, "Boss, I'm fine." And then, he fell unconscious. Long Fei supported Wang Tai and said to the waiter, "Do you have any spirit dance here?" The waiter said, "The third floor of the inn has a secret hall that specializes in selling various kinds of pills, but the price is extremely high." Suddenly, he looked at the purple diamond card on the table and said, "Master, if you can take the purple diamond card, there should be a discount. Moreover, if you are willing, this card can be overdrawn. Take me there." Long Fei immediately said, "You too, stay here and take good care of him." Finished. Long Fei followed the waiter of the restaurant to the exquisite hall. The God's Hotel was like a huge place to eat, drink and play. Only what you can't imagine, there's nothing here that he can't think of. The Magic Hall. They were here specifically to sell all kinds of spiritual pills. The quality of the pills were all top-notch. Normal pills wouldn't even be able to enter, not to mention. There were famous masters overseeing this place every day. "Senior brother, are you really going to buy me a spirit concentrating pill?" "Of course, why else would I bring you to the mystical hall?" Qiziana and Wang Zhong. Wang Zhong hadn't returned home immediately after waking up from his coma. Their goal this time was to buy pills from the mystical hall in preparation for the competition at Qiziana's martial arts arena. It was also for the better to capture Qiziana's heart. Spirit concentrating pill, a pill that can increase one's divine strength and break through shackles. The price was also extremely high. Qiziana lightly pulled Wang Zhong's arm closer and said sweetly, "Thank you, senior brother." His chest couldn't help but gently rub against Wang Zhong's arm. Wang Zhong immediately felt as though his body was floating in the air as he smiled and said, "As long as junior sister likes it, forget about the spirit concentrating pills, even if it's the moon in the sky, I'll pick it for you. I'm not that short-lived little brother. He can't give you anything. I'll give you everything you want." At this time, Long Fei walked into the exquisite hall. Wang Zhong immediately saw Long Fei. Qiziana's eyes also tensed up. Wang Zhong sneered and said, "Country bumpkin, how could the magic hall be a place that you could come to? Don't even mention the pills here, you can't even afford a cup of tea here." Wang Zhong was extremely contemptuous of Long Fei for humiliating him outside earlier. He felt displeased. But in God's commercial alliances, Long Fei could not touch him. "I can't touch him." Long Fei initially did not want to bother with Wang Zhong, but suddenly, he thought of something and asked, "Your surname is Wang?" Wang Zhong asked, "What is it?" "Now you know who I am. Kid, today's matter is not over." Long Fei asked again, "Are you from the Wang family of the City of Martial Arts' three great families?" Wang Zhong said, "Are you afraid? Right now, if you kneel down and kowtow to apologize to me, you would be in a hurry, otherwise." Not waiting for him to finish. Long Fei's eyes were filled with anger as he made his move. His 5 fingers formed a claw and grabbed onto Wang Zhong's shoulder. The shoulder bone had shattered. One hand was crippled. Long Fei did not stop, his body moving again. His other hand was also disabled. Move again. His feet were crippled. Wang Lun collapsed limply to the ground. He opened his mouth but couldn't even let out a scream. Qiziana, who was at the side, was also dumbstruck. She simply couldn't react in time. This is the gods' commercial alliances. The rules here were absolute, but Long Fei, rules. To Long Fei, it was useless. Long Fei glared at Wang Zhong and said coldly, "Go back and tell your patriarch that he has attacked my brothers. Prepare them for me." Wang Zhong was in so much pain that he couldn't take care of himself. Finished. Long Fei didn't even look at Wang Zhong. She coldly glanced at Qiziana from the corner of her eyes and said coldly, "Don't be a slut if you have nothing to do. Understand? Just a glance." Qiziana's body immediately began to tremble. That gaze was extremely cold, and her mind almost couldn't take it anymore. It was extremely uncomfortable, crushing down like she couldn't even breathe. After Long Fei walked a few meters away, Qiziana shouted fiercely, "Do you not care about the people from the gods' commercial alliances? Injuring my fiancé without permission, don't you think God's commercial alliances would give an explanation?" Qiziana said heavily. At this time, an elder came out and said, Consider this spirit-concentrating pill as a compensation. Cheesiana was startled, and said, "What I want is not this, what I want is for you to kill him for me. Zhao and Wang family will definitely not let this go." The elder was not afraid as he said, "Are you sure?" Cheesiana said, "I want his life." The elder said flatly, "I'm afraid not." Cheesiana said, "Don't you know the rules of your god's commercial alliances?" The white-haired elder had already reported what Long Fei did not spare a glance at the purple diamond card, and many elders knew clearly that Long Fei's identity was not simple. No matter who you offend, you must not offend Long Fei. At this moment, the waiter said lightly, "Young Miss Qi, the Wang and Zhao families are indeed powerful, but this is our master's purple diamond card. You should know what this card means, right?" Cheesiana looked at the purple diamond card that the waiter took out and his face sunk. His body trembled slightly as he muttered, "Impossible, he is just a country bumpkin. How could he have your purple diamond card?" Purple diamond card also had a special right. He could use force. Just a small card was enough to crush Zhao and Wang clan. The elder said lightly, "It's better to leave with the spirit concentrating pill, and from today onwards, the magic hall will not welcome the two of you, understand?" Another critical hit. The originally incomparably arrogant Cheesiana, who was like a peacock spreading its tail, was beaten black and blue. The key was. Long Fei scoffed. He didn't place her in his eyes at all. Cheesiana clenched his teeth, looked at the spirit concentrating pill, and in the end, still took it. Long Fei didn't care about what happened after that. The only thing he wanted to do now was to save Wang Tai. Long Fei walked into the exquisite hall and directly said, "I need the best healing pills." The elder saw that Long Fei did not ask any further, and immediately went into the cabinet. He took out a black box and said, "This is the best healing medicinal pill that we have. The price of this pill is 7 million divine stones. Do you want to pay in cash, or?" Long Fei was secretly speechless. One pill could cost 7 million divine stones. How powerful was this pill? Immediately, Long Fei said, "On my account." Following that, Long Fei took the pill and walked towards the 8th floor. From the start, he did not care about the purple diamond card in the waiter's hands. The waiter did not follow Long Fei immediately, and instead roughly described his injuries. And then, the elder of the magic hall followed the waiter to the 8th floor. Long Fei's identity was special. After consuming a pill, Wang Zhong's complexion immediately improved. His injuries rapidly recovered as well. One had to admit that this healing elixir was extremely effective. However, Wang Zhong still hadn't woken up. Chapter 1961 Mad Alchemy. Chapter 1961 Mad Alchemy. The highest grade healing pellet completely recovered Wang Tai's internal injuries. However, he just didn't wake up. This was because the black bones on his back had broken. Moreover, the heavy sword he had been carrying on his back had also disappeared. The bones on his back were completely different from normal bones. The moment Long Fei saw him, he felt that the bones on his back were using the power of heavenly bones. Now that his bones had been broken, the pain was probably unbearable. At this moment, the waiter and the Hall of Wonders elder walked into the room. The servant handed over the purple diamond card and said, "Sir, your brother's injuries are probably not as simple as internal injuries. He is our best doctor." Looking at the broken bones on his back, the space between his eyebrows tightened. Taking a look at his pulse, his eyebrows tightened even more and said, "This master's bones are very special. The black bones on his back are actually connected to his heart. His bones are damaged. His heart is also affected, I'm afraid." He raised his eyes to look at Long Fei, and said, "The healing panacea is basically unable to save him." Long Fei asked, "What pill can I save?" "Money doesn't matter, as long as you can save my brother, there's no problem with the sky-high price." Long Fei did not care about the money at all. No matter how much money he had, it would not be as important as his brother's life. The doctor frowned slightly and said, "Sir, this is not a matter of money. His bones have been forcefully broken, so this method is extremely cruel. It can be said that his tendons have been split and bones have been broken, and healing is almost impossible. The only way is to break all the bones on his back and then reconnect them, but this is not enough because these special bones are linked to the heart. I must have a mind-protecting pill. Also, we still need continuous bone pill. Our mystical hall still has the mind protection pill, but this continuous bone pill we are here too. When Long Fei heard the words tendon splitting bone splitting tendon, his heart turned sinister, the pain was unimaginable, he clenched his fists, and his joints popped out. And then, Long Fei asked, "Where are the continuous bone pill?" The physician continued, "From what I know, there is no such pill in the entire city of martial arts. Although the grade of this pill is not high, it is still the hardest pill to refine out of the countless pills. Almost no one has the ability to refine this pill. The refining of continuous bone pill was extremely difficult. In addition to the fact that the grade was not high, no one was willing to refine such a pill. It was very rarely used. If Wang Tai wasn't injured like this, there would be no need for the continuous bone pill at all." Seeing Wang Tai unconscious, Long Fei asked, "What would happen if there was no continuous bone pill?" The doctor hesitated for a moment, then looked at Long Fei and said, "He might not be able to take it, he might die, but even if he could, without the continuous bone pill to repair his broken bones, I'm afraid he will become a trash. F***ck. Damned Wang family," Long Fei said harshly as he gritted his teeth. The spirit doctor could feel that Long Fei's body was releasing a powerful aura. It was extremely powerful, his mind was trembling. This was not an aura an ordinary lower god could release. The waiter's eyes turned cold. Long Fei said, "City of martial arts is so big, is there anyone who can refine continuous bone pill?" The doctor shook his head. "As far as I know, I'm afraid. No. Not a single one." Long Fei's gaze tensed up. The physician shook his head and said, "Refining this kind of pill is too difficult. It is impossible for someone who has yet to refine the pill. He can't wait that long. His life. I'm afraid it will take at most a day." Long Fei's pupils tightened. This feeling really made him feel uncomfortable. "Huff. Elder, tell me the formula for refining the continuous bone pill and then you can start right away." Long Fei exhaled. No one in the city of martial arts could save his brother. Then he'll do it. His alchemy technique had gone through the cultivation methods of dragon coffin, and he knew that his was not strong. However, for the sake of his brother, he was willing to risk his life. He only had one day. If he could not refine the continuous bone pill out, Wang Tai would die. The doctor looked at Long Fei in shock. He wanted to ask something, but managed to hold back in the end, and said, "Okay, I will immediately have someone to write the continuous bone pills formula for you." And then, Long Fei said again, "Waiter, help me investigate who it was." Finished. Long Fei walked out of the room into Wang Tai's room. After a few minutes, someone brought over the admiration of the continuous bone pill and also brought a lot of materials to refine the continuous bone pill. Long Fei closed the door. The idea moved. The dragon coffin has been unlocked. Just as he was about to enter the world of dragon coffin, he heard a miserable scream from the room next door that belonged to Wang Tai. Long Fei's heart turned sinister again. The Wang clan, you just ***king wait for lousy. The idea moved. "Wang, brat, you're here again," the dragon said with a smile. He wasn't used to it now that he hadn't seen Long Fei for a few days. Long Fei's potential had shocked him immensely. His spirit of not admitting defeat and not worrying about losing had even surprised him. Just like an indestructible cockroach. Long Fei did not continue. Alchemy mode, activate. Ding. Alchemy mode activated. Alchemy mission, refining a divine pellet, obtaining alchemy technique experience, special reward once. Long Fei did not refine any divine pellet. Instead, he used the continuous bone pills formula to find the materials and began refining. Ding. Refinery failure. Buzz. In that moment, Long Fei was instantly flung out. It was as if he had died again. Continue. Ding. Refinery failure. Boom. The idea was killed once again. Idea was like his own real face. Every time they failed, they would be killed once, just like every time they died. Again. Ding. Refining failed. Refinery failure. Continuously failing. A crazy failure. Furthermore, Long Fei had no way of controlling how to refine the spirit liquid from the spirit grass. The colossal dragon also felt that Long Fei's mood was different when he entered this time. It gave him a reminder and said, "Kid, alchemy is about mood, you can't refine any pellets in this state. You shut up." It was true that his heart was a little fidgety after Long Fei shouted this sentence, but when he was using his alchemy, it could be said that he was completely immersed in it. But continuous bone pill was too difficult to master. All sorts of failures and attempts were unable to be completed. Just as the physician had said, no one was willing to try because the chances of failure were too high. Not only would it be difficult to succeed, it would also damage a person's confidence. No one would refine such a pill. I don't believe it. Long Fei's brows sunk, once again changing the refining method. Huff. The huge dragon exhaled a long breath. The idea moved and entered Long Fei's idea, and said faintly, "The most important part of the continuous bone pill's refining process is the refining of the spirit liquid. It is not refined together, but one after the other. Remember this." Chapter 1962, Level 9, Purple Robe. Chapter 1962, Level 9, Purple Robe Continuous Bone Pill. It was the bones. Similarly, all the spirit grass had to have a continuous nature, with rings and rings, in order to truly display the effects of the continuous bone pill, and not blindly ask for success. Even if it was forcefully refined successfully, the efficacy of such a continuous bone pill would be minimal. The colossal dragon's reminder made Long Fei's mind clear up, and he said, "Thank you." And then he was once again entering the midst of a new round of alchemy cultivation. Even with the dragon's reminder, it was still very difficult for Long Fei to succeed in one go. There were too many things he needed to master. However, Long Fei had never given up. While Long Fei was training his alchemy technique, the god's rudder found out about this. In the hall. This person is so important to him. It's clear that this must be a very good relationship. Helmsman, what do you think? The difficulty of refining continuous bone pill is not inferior to a grade 6 divine pellet. City of Martial Arts does not have a single alchemy master who has reached the realm of a grade 6 divine pellet. I'm afraid. The key is that many alchemy masters simply do not know how to refine continuous bone pill. Several elders of the Hall of Wonders said. God's rudder thought for a moment and said, if there was no continuous bone pill, what would happen to him? Even if they don't die, they will become trash. For a martial arts training practitioner, losing your cultivation is worse than dying. The center of God's rudder's brows tightened. Thinking about Long Fei's mysterious identity, for a moment, he felt somewhat uncertain. In the end, he said lightly, bring all the rank 5 alchemy masters in City of Martial Arts over here and have them refine the continuous bone pill with all their might. If one of them manages to refine it successfully, they will get the recipe for a rank 6 pellet. Helmsman, isn't the price of a grade 6 spirit Dan too high? That's right. Rank 6 divine pellets are not ordinary pellets. Every pellet is an important resource of our God's commercial alliances. Once we get out, we'll. Without waiting for him to finish speaking, God's rudder said, I'll bear the consequences. You guys go ahead and do this first. He had always felt that Long Fei was not simple. Even if he was not someone from the main temple, this person was definitely not simple. They were looking down on the purple diamond card. As for the millions of divine stones, they were just like dirt. This kind of person was definitely not simple. He would definitely take a gamble. How powerful was the god's commercial alliances? Adding on the grade 6 divine pellet formula, all of the alchemy masters in the entire City of Martial Arts were practically engrossed, and in less than a quarter of an hour, all of them had gathered in God's commercial alliances. Whoever can refine a continuous bone pill can become a master alchemist of the Hall of Wonders and also receive a tier 6 divine pill formula. All the materials to refine the continuous bone pill will be taken out by our God's commercial alliances. Hurry up and start. For a time, More than a dozen alchemy masters started to busy themselves. These were all the top alchemy masters in the city of martial arts. If they were unable to refine it, then there was really no other way. Several high-level alchemy masters of the Hall of Wonder were also nervously refining. To them, they also wanted the recipe for a 6th-grade divine pellet, which meant that they could improve by a step. Buzz. Fail. Buzz. Fail. After one round, everyone failed. Continuous bone pill is too difficult to refine. It costs too much spiritual energy. Continuous bone pill is one of the 10 great pills that are extremely difficult to refine. To refine a continuous bone pill, I need at least a 6th-tier pill refiner. Speak less. Pay more attention. If it's simple, we don't need to find you. If not for the fact that the City of Martial Arts did not have a 6th-stage pill refiner, would they still need someone else? The alchemy technique of the gods' commercial alliances was extremely high class. It had never begged anyone before, and this was the first time. An hour passed. Still no one succeeded. They were all constantly failing. A few pill refiners immediately left. Failure of the alchemy would greatly affect a person's mental fortitude, and would have an impact on their alchemy in the future. Still no one succeeded. The continuous bone pill is really too difficult to refine, I'm worried. An elder said to the god's rudder in a low voice. At this moment, one of the servants came over hurriedly and said, Master, the operation has been completed and the patient has been carried over. His life force is very tenacious and now we are only lacking continuous bone pill. God's rudder's eyebrows tightened as he asked, What did Dr. Shu say? The servant said, You must obtain the continuous bone pill within 4 hours, or else. After some time, even if there is a continuous bone pill, it will be useless, and you will still become a cripple. 10th floor? The elder's eyes narrowed, let alone 4 hours, even if they were given 2 more days, they would still not be able to refine continuous bone pill. What should we do? God's rudder let out a long breath, and said, We have already done everything we can. Actually, he already knew that the continuous bone pill was hard to refine, but he had to try his best to show Long Fei some of it. He wanted Long Fei to know that he had done his best. That was the main point. As for the result, it all depended on the heaven's will. Perhaps he could succeed. Perhaps. No. At this moment, the waiter hurriedly ran over and said, Sir, there's no need to refine the continuous bone pill anymore. Elder's face shook. Is he dead? The waiter shook his head and said, Someone can refine it. Dr. Shu told me to inform him. Who? Who can refine continuous bone pill? Can it be that a Tier 6 pill refiner has arrived? Even a Tier 6 pill refiner wouldn't be able to succeed at any time. All the rank 5 alchemy masters in the alchemy room were startled. God's rudder immediately said, Let's go take a look. If he was really a 6th-stage alchemy master, then he really had to rope her in. Any one of the alchemy masters were talented people, and such a person had to be treated well. Next, a dozen or so apothecaries and several elders of God's commercial alliances rushed to the 8th floor. I want to see who is stronger than us in City of Martial Arts. Exactly. If we can't even refine it, how can anyone? I don't believe it. 9th floor of the God's Hotel. A woman wearing a purple dress held an ancient scroll in her hand. Hearing the commotion downstairs, her brows tightened as she said, It's so noisy downstairs. At this time, an old servant immediately bowed, Miss, do you want me to go down? The woman in purple gently said, Forget it. The old servant stood at the side and said softly, The continuous bone pill is not that easy to refine. The purple lady said indifferently, This kind of pill, not to mention a Tier 6 pill refiner, even a Tier 8 pill refiner would not be able to 100% of the refining process. Even if it was successfully concocted, it would not be able to bring out the effects of the continuous bone pill. The old servant nodded, You can't refine a continuous bone pill, but you have to bring out its medicinal effects. The woman picked up the ancient scroll and started to read. The soundproofing effect of every floor of God's commercial alliances was very good. Ordinary people, even divine-level powerhouses would not be able to hear the voices coming from the next level, but they. Yet, it was as though he was standing by the side. Moreover, The purple woman clearly heard the things that happened between Long Fei and the two twin fox womaness as well. Chapter 1963 When I Wake Up, I'll Take You to Hell With Me. Chapter 1963 When I Wake Up, I'll Take You to Hell With Me. Who can refine continuous bone pill? A alchemy master was the first to rush into the room. At this moment, Long Fei was just about to pick the materials. Dr. Shu looked at Long Fei. When he saw the god's rudder, he immediately stood up and returned back to normal with a glance from the branch lord. A dozen or so fifth-grade alchemy masters looked at Long Fei with a look of disdain. Just this brat? He can refine continuous bone pill? Ha ha ha. Are you sure this is not a joke? How is this possible? With just him? Kid, may I ask what rank of alchemy master you are? If he can refine a continuous bone pill, this old one will write his name backwards. None of them believed it. It was because they were alchemistess. But Long Fei was in his early 20s, how could he possibly refine a continuous bone pill? Long Fei ignored him. He arranged the position of the spirit grass by himself. God's rudder frowned. One of the clan elders immediately shouted, "All of you, quiet down." The hall quickly became silent. Everyone stared at Long Fei. None of them spoke, but their expressions were full of disdain. Alchemy masters were all very proud existences. They despised some low-level alchemy masters. They were proud and aloof, and always thought of themselves as the number one alchemy master under the heavens. Huff. After preparing everything, Long Fei exhaled lightly. His heart calmed down and the aura on his body relaxed slightly. A slight buzzing sound was emitted in the air. No one in the room noticed this hum, but the purple-clothed woman on the 9th floor suddenly moved. She put down the ancient scroll and started to listen with all her heart. When the old servant saw the purple-dressed woman's serious expression, the expression in his eyes changed. A spirit grass floated in the air. Long Fei did not have any pill furnaces beside him. A alchemy master could not help but laugh. If you don't even have a pill furnace, how are you going to refine it? You can refine a ball. Pill furnace. It is an essential item of the alchemy. How could he refine without a pill furnace? Isn't this a joke? No one understood that in the common sense of alchemy, one must have a pill furnace in order to obtain it. God's rudder looked at the alchemy master of the mystical hall. Their faces were also filled with shock and they did not understand as they had never seen this kind of method of alchemy. Long Fei entered a state of selflessness. Zhong Xian's eyes twitched. Boom. With a series of explosive sounds, all the windows in the room were suddenly violently pushed open by a strong force, and rushed into the spirit grass. There was no pill furnace. No flames. But the spirit grass began to slowly extract the spirit liquid. The heaven and earth became the furnace. The power of nature was fire. Let alone these fifth-grade alchemy masters, even the top alchemy masters of the primordial divine war might not have seen this kind of technique before. Everyone in the hall was scared silly. When had I ever seen such a alchemy technique before? One of the spirit grass's spirit liquids had not yet finished being refined. As for the other spirit grass, it started floating in the air and seeping out spirit liquids, fusing together. Mixing spirit liquid? Will it work? Does he know alchemy or not? It was completely against common sense. Many people began to question him. The purple-clothed woman looked as if she was in the hall, and said lightly, "The connection between the spirit liquids is so perfect, what a powerful alchemy technique." The spirit liquid from another spirit grass connected to everything else. In just a few short minutes, a dozen or so stalks of spirit grass spirit liquid were refined and linked together perfectly. They converged into a liquid ball. How they were solidified was also the most important part. The purple-clothed lady said softly, "How are you going to freeze it now? If we don't operate properly, everything we did before will be in vain." She was looking forward to it. They were looking forward to Long Fei refining it earlier. Long Fei maintained his calm expression as he looked at the boiling water in front of him, and started to roll non-stop. He wanted to solidify it into a pill. What was needed was not the burning of flames, but the crushing of strength. This was also a method taught to him by a dragon. Buzz. His left arm shook. The power of Buddha started to move. Boom. His right arm shook, and the strength of the dragon-shaped mark under his sleeve slightly moved as well. Boom. The air continuously ruptured as powerful energy continuously poured into the spirit liquid from the center of Long Fei's palm. He began to frantically crush, expelling the impurities in the spirit liquid and fusing Long Fei's power of Buddha and dragon-shaped mark's energy into it. The area around the elixir was as though there were dozens of large hands squeezing it in a frenzy, as though they were holding it in place. At the same time, on Long Fei's forehead, his back was sweating profusely. Just a little more. Just a little more. Just a little more. Long Fei clenched his teeth and persisted. Buzz. A light sound rang out. A steaming hot pill was floating in the air. Ding. Refining is a success. The system sounded out. Long Fei's body trembled slightly. He fell on his butt on the chair, unable to take it anymore. His body felt like it had been sucked dry, and not only his holy power value, but his mental force too. Very uncomfortable. Long Fei panted anxiously, and said, "Dr. Shu, hurry and give it to him." Everyone in the hall was shocked. Each and every one of them looked at Long Fei with their mouths agape. They had never seen such a method of refining alchemy before, and it had actually succeeded. It was too unbelievable. All of them looked like idiots. God's Rudder's heart was even more fervent, pleasantly surprised. Genius. No, no, no. To use the word genius to describe him is simply insulting him. It's too sharp. He suddenly realized that he had made the right choice. Dr. Shu came back to reality and immediately fed the pill to Wang Tai. As the pill entered his body, the bones that were connected to Wang Tai quickly let out a series of cracking sounds, and the black bones that protruded from his back slowly retracted back into his body. Moreover, Wang Tai's body was covered with waves of divine light. Not only had the bones on his back been repaired, even the bones in his entire body had been remodeled. It was as if he had been reborn and evolved anew. Huff! Wang Tai's eyes twitched. He suddenly woke up. The aura on his body rumbled like an explosion. The aura on his body underwent a sudden change, instantly breaking through to the next realm. This time, the surrounding people all looked at Long Fei as though they were looking at a fool. Their faces were filled with worship and shock, as if they had seen their ancestors. Long Fei smiled as he looked at Wang Tai, who had stood up once again. Hoo. I need some rest. Sister, go warm your bed. Long Fei was really, very tired. He looked at Wang Tai and said, "When I wake up, I'll settle the score for you." He thought that it was the same as outside in training space of the dragon coffin. However, the world was like a furnace and the natural power was like a fire, taking his life with it. He wouldn't be able to feel it from the inside, but outside, he felt extremely uncomfortable. The twins supported Long Fei as they walked into the room. The God's Rudder also quickly gave the order, "All of you, get out. Don't disturb his rest." The 9th floor. The purple-clothed woman by the window was in a daze. "He's really not normal. Never seen it before. Uncle you said. Can you concoct the 9 steps yang reversion pill?" Chapter 1964. Long Fei became furious at once. Chapter 1964. Long Fei became furious at once. By the time he woke up, it was already dawn. Long Fei stretched lazily, as he slept soundly this time. He had not slept so comfortably in all these years. "Master, you're awake. Master, I'll prepare breakfast for you." The sweet voices of the 2 twin girls sounded out, causing one to be in a good mood as they listened with high spirits. Long Fei looked at one of them. Immediately, a hungry tiger pouncing on a sheep. "I'll eat you first." A lively dragon and a lively tiger. There was another storm. The 2 ladies were tired. However, they still insisted on getting up. One of them would prepare breakfast for Long Fei while the other would dress Long Fei. Life should be like this. Long Fei looked at the 2 of them and thought about their future. His heart couldn't help but tighten slightly. Fate was bound. Long Fei did not say much and walked out of the room. Wang Tai immediately stood up and said, "Boss, you're awake." He knew that his life was saved by Long Fei, and also knew how difficult it was to refine continuous bone pill. Wang Tai's heart was indescribably grateful. Long Fei said, "Stop, don't make yourself look like a woman. Tell me, who did this to you? Not only did you injure yourself internally, you even broke your heavenly bone. Isn't this going too far?" Heavenly bone. Wang Tai did not know what the black bones on his back were called. He thought he had a demon inside him. Long Fei said, "The bone in your back." He had cultivated the power of God's bone taboo before, so he was very clear on what kind of black bone was growing out of Wang Tai's back. It was just that it had not been fully activated yet. At this moment, the waiter walked into the room and said, "Sir, the elders of the mystical hall wish to see you." What do you think? What Long Fei did not know was that he had refined continuous bone pill, shocking the entire city of martial arts' alchemy realm. It could be said. Those alchemy masters who saw him wanted to see Long Fei. They even wanted to know what that alchemy method was. It was too shocking. To an alchemy master, talking with Long Fei would change their fate. Long Fei waved his hand and said, "Let them wait." "Wang Tai, tell me, who beat you up like this?" Wang Tai's mouth tightened, his brows slightly lowered, and his expression somewhat lonely. Long Fei said, "You are my brother, to beat you to such a state. This matter is not over." Wang Tai said, "Boss, about this matter. I think we should just forget about it. I was useless, and my skills are inferior to others. That's why I." The scene of himself being attacked by the three great powerhouses of the Wang family appeared in his mind. Wang Tai's heart tightened. He didn't want to involve Long Fei in this, after all this was his private matter. Long Fei asked, a member of the Wang family. Wang Tai did not speak. Long Fei replied, "Understood." Wang Tai said, "Boss, I will take care of this matter, I will." What would he know? "You're my brother, hitting you is the same as hitting me. If I don't get back at you for this, then I'm not your boss." Long Fei was very angry. If it wasn't dragon coffin training space. If it were not for the help of the huge dragon, Long Fei would never have been able to refine continuous bone pill S. This way, even if Wang Tai didn't die, he would at least become a cripple. To a cultivator, life was better than death. If he killed him, he would have to avenge himself. Wang Tai felt gratitude in his heart, and wanted to cry. 10 odd years ago, the Wang family abandoned him and allowed him to expel the Devil Island. Now he was back. He was viewed as a demon, a joint attack by 3 experts. The last trace of hope in his heart for the Wang family was gone. "Master, breakfast is ready." The fox girl brought in the breakfast and asked, "Master, the elders of the magic hall are still waiting outside. Should we let them in?" Long Fei said, "Let them in. After all, they were from the gods' commercial alliances." Moreover, God's commercial alliances had indeed helped Wang Tai a lot when he was heavily injured. No matter what his goal was, Long Fei's thoughts were very simple. If he helped him, then he would owe him a favor. With Long Fei's permission, 2 elders of the Hall of Wonders walked in ecstatically, as if they were 2 apprentices. They bowed in front of Long Fei, and said excitedly, "Master, you." Long Fei ate his breakfast and said, "If you have anything to say, just say it, I still have matters to attend to later." The 2 elders glanced at each other. An elder bit his lips and said, "Master, we want to know what method you use to refine the continuous bone pill. Why can't you use a pill furnace to concoct pills? It has always been so. From start to finish, we haven't seen any flame power at all. How did the pill solidify and take shape? I really want to know." They had been thinking about these questions all night, unable to sleep at all. Not just him. It was the same for many alchemy masters in the city of martial arts. Even the god's rudder was the same. He had never seen such shocking profound arts before. Even Main Temple had never seen such a method before. Long Fei raised his head, looked at them, and faintly said, "The heaven and earth are furnace, and naturally are flames. This is how they were refined. I've finished eating. Let's go. I'll take you to settle the score." Long Fei did not want to say more. Even if he had explained it clearly, they would not be able to understand. There was no way to replace it. Thus, no matter how simple Long Fei's words were, they wouldn't understand. The two fifth-rank alchemy masters of the mystical hall had stupefied expressions, and muttered to themselves, "The heaven and earth are furnace, so it's naturally fire. What does this mean?" They didn't understand at all. However, the purple-clothed woman at the 9th floor tightened her eyebrows. Heaven and earth are furnace, so naturally they are fire. This sentence seems to have come from an ancient scroll. Could it be? Is there really such a powerful alchemy technique in the world? Nether Slave shook his head. I have never heard of it. The purple-robed woman relaxed her brow, and a look of excitement appeared on her face, along with a faint smile. This smile. It was as if everything had happened in an instant. Beautiful beyond compare. Nether Slave was dumbfounded. This was the first time he saw the purple-dressed woman smile in these 10 years. Immediately, Nether Slave immediately said, "Miss, do you want me to invite him up?" The purple-robed woman immediately said, "No need, I'm going to see him myself. Uncle I have a hunch, I feel. He can concoct the 9 steps young reversion pill. Definitely." The violet-clothed woman's voice became excited. Wang Tai was still hesitant, as he did not want Long Fei to get involved in the Wang family's matters. At this moment, an assistant from the God's Hotel walked in and whispered a few words into the ears of the waiter. Long Fei immediately asked, "What is it?" The waiter immediately said, "My lord, the Wang and Qi families have sent many people to hand you over." The branch lord said, "Do you want us to take action?" F***CK. Long Fei was immediately furious. Chapter 1965 Royal Family, Killing Order. Chapter 1965 Royal Family, Killing Order. He was instantly enraged. If Laozi isn't looking for you, why are you F***King looking for death? Do you really think that Laozi is a soft persimmon that anyone can pinch? There was a ball of fire in his heart. Wang Tai was very unhappy with his injuries. It was one thing if he didn't look for trouble with them, but they did come looking for him. Can he swallow this down? Let's go. Long Fei immediately stood up. The waitress asked, "Sir, do you want us to settle this?" The elders of the mystical hall immediately said, "King, the Qi family dares to behave atrociously in front of our god's commercial alliances. What are you waiting for? Tell them to scram." The current Long Fei's identity was definitely not simple. Forget about everything else, just refining a continuous bone pill was already not simple. However, they did not know that Long Fei could only refine one kind of continuous bone pill. If he had to refine another pubes, he definitely would not be able to refine it within a short period of time. Long Fei said, "Regarding this, I will do it myself." "Wang Tai, he's already here, why didn't you say anything?" Long Fei said angrily. Wang Tai clenched his fists and said, "You've gone too far." And then, he stepped out of the room and rushed to the entrance of the Tianxin Hotel. "The 9th floor. Miss, we." The purple-dressed woman said slightly, "The fierce dragon is but a river, while the king and the Qi family are both local tyrants in the city of martial arts. Let's go and take a look, we can't let anyone hurt him." Nether Slave nodded and said, "I understand. Quickly hand him over. If your god's commercial alliances doesn't give an explanation for beating him to such a state, don't blame us for being impolite. This is going too far. Don't you god's commercial alliances like to call it rules? Beating him up like this and giving him a spirit concentrating pill was enough? Do you think that our Wang family is easy to bully? Let me tell you, this is the city of martial arts." A few of the elders of the Qi and Yang families said angrily. They were right. This was the city of martial arts, their world. Even if the god's commercial alliances was extremely powerful, a strong dragon couldn't even be compared to a snake in the city of martial arts. The power of a division was not that of a king or a rival of the Qi and Qi families. If they were to fall out, no one would feel good. Elder Wang Zhong, from your tone, it seems that you want to fight my god's commercial alliances, right? An elder of the god's commercial alliances said coldly. Wang Zhong shouted, Don't use the war to scare me. All we need to do is say it out. Either hand the person over to me or we'll go in and look for it ourselves. At this time, God's rudder walked out, his eyes squinted slightly as he shouted, I think you don't have the guts to do that. Wang Zhong's gaze darkened, his voice dropping to a lower pitch. God's rudder, it's great that you came. My family's young master was beaten up by your mysterious deity pellet. You have to give me an explanation for this matter, otherwise. Our Wang and Qi families are not weak either. Explanation? What do you mean? What I'm saying is, if there's no other way, if you continue pestering me, don't blame me for being impolite. God's rudder glared with both eyes. God's commercial alliances was not a soft persimmon. He wanted to protect Long Fei. Even if the patriarch of the Wang family and the Qi family came, he would still protect Long Fei. If he handed Long Fei over, Long Fei would definitely be finished. Wang Zhong glared at him. Are you sure you don't want to hand it over? The god's rudder sneered and said, the person my god's commercial alliances wants to protect, even if it's your king, the entire Qi and clan combined will not be able to touch us. If you don't believe me, just try it. The muscles at the corners of Wang Zhong's eyes trembled as he shouted in anger, do you think I don't dare to? Suddenly, the Wang clan disciples drew their swords in unison. The people of God's commercial alliances also rushed out. All of a sudden, the atmosphere was tense, filled with tension and the smell of gunpowder. However, no one attacked first. Because of fear. Wang, the Qi family did not expect God's commercial alliances to protect Long Fei with his life. There was no need to get into such a tense situation. God's rudder did not expect it to be like this. No matter which side it was, they could not bear the consequences of the war. The God's commercial alliances was just a division here. Once the war started, they would definitely lose. King, the Qi and the Qi family have been in the city of martial arts for hundreds of years. At this moment, Long Fei walked out and said, I was the one who beat him. If there's anything you need, just come at me, I'll take it all on. When Qiziana saw Long Fei, he immediately said, that's him. He's the one who beat up brother Wang Zhong. Wang Tai looked at Qiziana. Hearing the big brother Wang Zhong call him so intimately caused his heart to feel slightly cold. Long Fei said in a low voice, this kind of woman is not worth it for you to love. Wang Tai laughed bitterly. Wang Zhong looked at Long Fei, and then looked at Wang Tai, and his heart shivered. He's not dead yet? Yesterday when he attacked Wang Tai, he was one of the experts. It was a deadly attack, but Wang Tai was acting like nothing happened. God's rudder looked at Long Fei, and immediately walked forward, saying, no one dares to do anything to you. Long Fei said, thank you, Branch Lord. No one did anything to me. But what do I want from them? This has nothing to do with the gods' commercial alliances. After Long Fei finished speaking, he strode over and shouted angrily, who beat up my brother? Wang Zhong looked at Wang Tai, and then looked at Long Fei, and said, he's your brother? One of the young disciples standing next to Wang Zhong immediately sneered, it looks like you are also a trash who escaped from Devil Island. Long Fei's eyes darkened, what did you say? The young disciple said, I said you guys were all escaped from the Devil Island. He hadn't finished speaking the word trash. Long Fei's figure disappeared. Boom. With a slap, that young disciple fell to the ground. His head heavily smashed into the ground, causing the floor to crack and his brain to spew out all over the floor. One slap, one kill. The system sounded out. Ding. Long Fei did not listen because there was not a single boss to be seen. This type of monster would not drop anything, and as for experience points, it was even more pitiful. Long Fei had a cold and gloomy expression as he said, what did he say just now? Can anyone say it again? The entire place was silent. Instantly, it was crushed by Long Fei alone. He was completely speechless. No one dared to repeat what they just said. After pausing for a few seconds, Long Fei sneered, and said, why is no one talking? Since no one speaks, then I will speak. Who hit my brother? Who? Long Fei glared at him furiously. Staring at Wang Zhong, he coldly asked, is that you? Wang Zhong's expression turned cold, his eyes narrowed slightly as he said, I don't care who you are killing my clansmen, but you won't be able to walk out of City of Martial Arts today. A killing order. The Wang clan's kill order. Wang Tai's heart sank. God's rudder's expression also secretly changed. Something was going to happen. Chapter 1966, King of Night Order. Chapter 1966, King of Night Order. The Wang clan was an extremely powerful clan. They had once entered the battleground, and at the same time, obtained some achievements. The killing intent that he had brought back from the battlefield was an important force in the Wang family's cultivation. A killing order. In the past several hundred years, the Wang family had used it twice. Every time, they would come out in full strength. It wouldn't stop until one of them was dead. There was no end to the 9 clans. They wouldn't stop until they were all killed. Furthermore, they were all completed within a day. What Wang Zhong had just said was to issue a killing order. Not only was the people from the gods' commercial alliances slightly shocked, even the Qi family and the Wang family disciples present were secretly shocked. However, Long Fei was indifferent. He did not know what order the Wang family sent him to kill him, nor did he know what it meant by that order. He only knew one thing. Whoever touched his brother would die. It was that simple. Long Fei grinned. I don't care who you are, but if you dare to touch my brother, then you will die. All right. Very good. Wang Zhong smiled and said, Brat, perhaps you don't know what the Wang clan's killing order means, but you will know very soon. Wang Tai immediately walked over and asked, Third Elder, is this really going to happen? Who do you think you are? Do you have the qualifications to call me Third Elder? You monster. Wang Zhong's eyes turned sinister. I should have killed you back then, but you still dared to come back after more than 10 years. What are you doing back here? Revenge? Or did he want to return to the Wang clan? Are you qualified? The Wang family never accepts monsters. One word monster and the other sentence monster. Wang Tai's heart was in great pain. These 2 words deeply stung him, and he said, I only came back to see my mother, and I'll leave after I've seen her. I definitely won't take another step into the Wang family. Your mother is such a bitch. Monster, only that kind of bitch can give birth to you. Wang Zhong said in disdain. Cluck, 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 cluck. A series of cracking sounds could be heard. Roar. A monster's roar came out from Wang Tai's body. In that instant, the bones on Wang Tai's back suddenly exploded, and a few meter-long black bones grew out. Wang Tai extended his right hand, and directly grabbed onto a black bone, and pulled. A bone sword. A wave of powerful energy exploded from the black bone. The flames of fury burned. The powerful aura was also burning. Wang Tai took a step forward, and it was as if he had instantly fallen into madness. I won't allow you to insult my mother. Boom. With a single step, a deep footprint appeared on the ground. The flames were still burning on the footprints. The black bone sword in his hand slashed down. Shua. The black sword Qi attacked. Wang Zhong sneered. Monsters are monsters. It seems like yesterday's lesson wasn't enough. Today, I'll send you to meet Yang. Wang. Wang Zhong's aura of power followed him. Buzz. The power of the first stage of lower god erupted. It formed a strong pressure that wanted to crush Wang Tai. Long Fei glared between his brows. He did not try to stop them. He couldn't stop it either. In this kind of situation, everyone wished to use their own strength to ruthlessly crush their opponent. Wang Tai flew into a rage. Following the transformation of the continuous bone pill that Long Fei refined, the power hidden within his body, especially within the heavenly bone, burst forth even more abruptly. The sword Qi instantly shattered Wang Zhong's aura. Wang Zhong's gaze tensed up, but he was still a powerhouse in the lower god realm after all. With his aura shattered, he did not panic at all as his right hand moved. An earthen yellow power rose from the ground. A charge. Boom. After directly resisting Wang Tai's bone sword, Wang Zhong's body slightly sank. His heart was overwhelmed with shock. I didn't think that I would have such a strong power to progress in a short day. I dare not imagine it. If I don't get rid of this monster today, I will definitely cause trouble in the future. Immediately, Wang Zhong's left hand moved and a tiny dagger appeared in his sleeve. He controlled the qi and moved. The dagger suddenly disappeared into thin air. Long Fei's heart tensed up, despicable. He wanted to stop them, but Long Fei did not know where the dagger would come from. Ah! Ah! The bone sword in his hand was like a large machete, slashing down heavily. He did not care about the consequences, and he did not care about defense. You are not allowed to insult my mother, you are not allowed to insult my mother, you are not allowed to. He roared crazily. He could endure insulting him. However, his mother was his bottom line. No one was allowed to insult her. The whole Wang family called him a monster. No one sympathized with him. Everyone bullied him. Even his father never looked at him again. Only his mother. His mother was his only concern. He wanted the Wang family to give him an explanation. He wanted to ask why his father had abandoned him, but after he returned to the city of martial arts, all he wanted was to see his mother. With such a small request, not only did the Wang clan not agree, they even made a huge move against him. I never wanted him to live. At this moment, Wang Tai completely erupted. The anger and resentment that he had suppressed for more than 10 years burst forth from him. Ah! 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 The bone sword was still chopping down heavily. Wang Zhong could not hold on any longer and staggered backwards. However, a cold light flashed in his eyes as he suddenly shouted, "Monster, go and die." A cold dagger suddenly appeared and pierced straight towards Wang Tai's throat. Long Fei glared, "Be careful." He took a step forward. However, too slow. There was no time. Long Fei's pupils suddenly contracted. Just as he was about to release time reset, the dagger was suddenly bound by a force, floating motionlessly around Wang Tai's neck. Wang Zhong's expression changed. Who? At the same time, Wang Tai did not think that it would be a big deal as he continued to observe from the sidelines. Crack! Wang Zhong's arm was sent flying as blood spurted out. He endured the intense pain as he crazily retreated. The crowd of Wang clan disciples instantly protected him. Long Fei secretly shivered in his heart. What a strong power! To be able to release such a binding power in an instant, it had to be said that even if Long Fei was completely prepared, he still wouldn't be able to do it. At this time, the purple-dressed woman slowly walked out, covering her face with a veil as she said, "Is this matter over?" Her voice was very calm. The waiter immediately whispered into God's Rudder's ears, "Sir, distinguished guest on the 9th floor." God's Rudder's gaze tensed up. Another elder of the Wang family shouted, "It's fine if you say it, but this matter." While he was speaking, the purple-clothed woman really did not want the nether slave to come out. She took out a purple order badge from her bosom and coldly said, "Can you let it go now?" The expressions of the Wang clan members all changed. The faces of the elders of the gods' commercial alliances also changed drastically, as if they were facing a great enemy, King of Night Order. Chapter 1967 Identification Exposure. Chapter 1967 Identification Exposure. Once the order was given, the king and the Qi families left the gods' commercial alliances dejectedly, not even daring to fart. As for the royal clan's kill order, instantly. This was the first time the Wang family had been so humiliated in hundreds of years in the city of martial arts. Moreover, it was a kind of bitterness that could not be described with words. When the gods' commercial alliances were split up, they braced themselves to give it a try. After all, it was just a division. However, in front of the King of Night Order, they did not have that kind of courage, nor did they have that kind of heart. This was because the energy contained within the order badge was so powerful that they could not withstand it. Whoever offended the Night King Valley would only end up like this, with their entire family annihilated. Night King, King of the Night. It was also known as the King of Assassins of the ancient war god. Rumors. Night King Valley's first Valley Master was an assassin by the god's side. It was because he did not want to enter the main temple that he chose to stay in the primordial divine war plane. However, although he did not enter the main temple, The power bestowed to him by the sovereign was not any weaker than that of any other god within the main temple. He created the Night King Valley and became the Night King. He was the commander of the assassination world. In the ancient divine war plane, he could be said to be the King of Kings. However, although the Night King Valley had always been in command of the ancient divine war assassins, they rarely appeared. This sudden appearance shocked many people. It created quite a few ripples throughout the entire ancient god battle. People from the Night King Valley appeared. The members of the Wang clan and the Qi clan retreated. Wang Tai slowly woke up from his rage and turned to look at Long Fei. Long Fei then looked at the purple-clothed woman and said, "Thank you for your help." The lady in purple said faintly, "Even if I didn't do anything, you would have had a way to block the dagger, but I was the one who went overboard." In that situation, besides using reset time, there was no other way for Long Fei to stop it. However, time reset was one of his trump cards. It was the power of the time laws. Once he released it, it would cause a lot of trouble. Long Fei smiled and said, "If you don't attack, I really won't be able to do anything." The purple-dressed woman said, "In that case, you really should thank me." Wang Tai immediately bowed, "Thank you, master." The purple-dressed woman smiled slightly and said, "It was just a small matter." Then, the purple-dressed woman said, "Uncle Nether, let's go." He turned and walked into the God's Hotel. She did not make any request of Long Fei, because she knew that now was not the time. She only wanted Long Fei to pay attention to her. 9 Steps Young Reversion Pill. This pill was no ordinary pill. You cannot make such a request just because you saved Long Fei's brother once, and also, it was unknown if Long Fei could actually refine it. Helping others should be enough. She believed that Long Fei would still need her help in some way. Because his identity, Wang Tai's identity, had already been exposed. What was Long Fei's identity? It's hard to avoid escaping from Devil Island. With this identity, he could not possibly be an envoy from the main temple. Indeed, God's Rudder immediately gathered all the clan elders for an emergency meeting. How could he be someone from the Devil Island? I heard that the dome of the Devil Island was broken by someone a while ago. Now that the Devil Island has completely clashed with the primordial divine war plane, it's possible for them to enter the primordial divine war plane. If that brat is really someone from the Devil Island, then what we did before. You must know that the Devil Island is a place that the main temple cannot tolerate. If we go and help someone who is opposing the main temple, just in case. He did not dare to continue. Everyone knew that the ancient god battle was in the hands of the main temple's gods. It wasn't just the ancient war. The 100,000 planes were all in the hands of the gods in the main temple. Wasn't opposing main temple equivalent to seeking death? Helmsman, you have to reconsider this matter. What are you afraid of? So what if they are people of the Devil Island? In my opinion, that brat is very good. He was able to refine a continuous bone pill, and he is also loyal to his brother. I agree too. Both sides began to argue. God's Rudder locked the space between his brows and said faintly, "I have already sent people to investigate. If he really is someone from Devil Island, then we must keep our distance." God's commercial alliances is indeed not afraid of anything, but we cannot offend the main temple. Some people should not be provoked. Some powers should not be provoked. Everyone in the ancient god battlefield knew that the dome of the Devil Island had shattered. If he colluded with the people of Devil Island again, the consequences would be hard to imagine. The meeting ended. God's Rudder pondered for a while, before also sending people to crowded Sky City. He had to report what had happened here to the higher-ups, as there were some things that he could not make a decision about. It was the appearance of the King of Night Order. Uncle Nether Limitless, how do you think the gods' commercial alliances will deal with him? The violet-robed woman leaned against the window, staring off into the distance, the ancient scroll still in her hands. The ancient scrolls recorded all kinds of secret recipes and medicines. There were also many unique characteristics of rare spirit grass. The Nether slave bowed and said faintly, "The gods' commercial alliances' power during the primordial divine war can be considered quite great, but This kind of force is the kind of force the merchant union is most afraid of, not to be trifled with, and not to be trifled with. Even in the primordial divine war, there aren't many that they can't afford to offend, but what they are most afraid of are the main templess, I'm afraid. The purple-dressed woman said, should we inform him in advance? Nether slave said, Miss, today you have already saved his brother, and already helped him once. If you help him again. Moreover, it's hard to say whether he will be able to concoct the 9 steps young reversion pill. Even the Night King Valley had to think it over. This was the person who was going against the main temple. Moreover, Nether Slave did not say it out loud, but in his heart, he was certain of Long Fei's identity. Devil Island did not have a divine-level powerhouse. Long Fei's cultivation was in the lower god, so there was one possibility, King of the Devil Island. What was the purpose of sneaking into the ancient god battle? If they did not handle this well, the Night King Valley would get involved in some unnecessary trouble. The purple-clothed woman wanted to speak, but she hesitated. Finally, he picked up the ancient scroll and started flipping through it again. Boss, it seems like the way they look at us has changed. Is it because of that purple-clothed woman? The Wang clan retreated. Whether it was the servants or the elders of the entire god's commercial alliances, everyone seemed to be deliberately keeping a distance from them. Long Fei was not stupid. It's probably because we're from the Devil Island. Wang Tai's brows tightened, and said, it's all my fault, if not for me. You are my brother. There's no need to say anything else. Moreover, I've come to the ancient war god's side, so I don't intend to hide my identity. So what if I'm discovered? Long Fei grinned. He had never thought of hiding it. It was to face him head-on. Long Fei slightly said God's commercial alliances and the Wang family didn't discover it, but that purple-clothed woman. What is her purpose? What exactly is a King of Night Order? Chapter 1968, One Punch KO. Chapter 1968, One Punch KO. Long Fei didn't understand anything about the primordial divine war. The same goes for King of Night Order. Wang Tai explained the teleportation of the King of Night Order simply. Long Fei was secretly shocked, and said, that means, the Night King Valley is the strongest assassination organization in the primordial divine war? You could say that. There are people not only in the ancient divine war, there are also people in the battleground. If the legends are true, then even the main temple's gods would have to be a little afraid of them, Wang Tai said. So abnormal? No wonder, just one token is enough to make the Wang clan members not even dare to fart. Long Fei laughed. The strongest assassination organization is the god of Death's Blade. So fierce. Long Fei muttered to himself, a person as fierce as her, there shouldn't be anything that can't be accomplished, right? Why did he have to help? Do you have something to ask of me? Wang Tai asked. Boss, what did you say? Long Fei waved his hand and said, nothing. Since the Night King Valley is so powerful, what can't be done? There was no need to beg him. He must be overthinking things. Long Fei thought, but I am rather interested in that face under the purple veil. Wang Tai asked, Boss, what do we do next? Are we leaving? Now that our identities have been exposed, I'm afraid. King of Night Order could only suppress them for a while. Once the purple-clothed woman left, the Wang family's killing order would be activated. At that time, it would not be easy for them to leave City of Martial Arts. Moreover, the people of God's commercial alliances were also unable to judge, what if? If they were to make a move, it would be impossible for them to escape. Long Fei asked, leave what? You haven't avenged yourself yet, why did you leave? It wouldn't be too much to see my mother after leaving home for more than 10 years, right? I'll take care of it. Long Fei said, leaving? Your father's anger has not yet subsided. How can you leave now? Isn't the Wang clan, the Qi clan's disciple, an expert that is going to participate in the competition? Then we'll have to intercept them, tell their king, not a single person from the Qi and Qi family to enter the martial stage, let alone enter the divine ranking. As for God's commercial alliances, Long Fei took out the purple diamond card, threw it over to Wang Tai and said, there's still 3 million divine stones inside, there's still 2 more days until the martial stage competition. In these 2 days, I'll spend the 3 million divine stones. Do you want to spend the money? He had spent 10 million divine stones and 7 million to buy the spirit pellets, so he had spent the remaining 3 million. It wasn't in his previous life. I need an ID card, a phone call, a family phone call, and so on. After using the purple diamond card, go find a ghost. Of course. No one would be like him. The value of a purple diamond card would far exceed 10 million divine stones. Wang Tai said, "Boss, what about you?" Long Fei said, "I will take a stroll around. You should go into closed-door cultivation, if you want to prove to the Wang family that you have the best chance of watching the competition." "And your fiancé?" Wang Tai clenched his fists tightly and said solemnly, "I will prove it to them. Also, Cheesiana is no longer my fiancé." Long Fei laughed loudly, "Ha ha ha. This is who you are." Wang Tai left with Long Fei's purple diamond card. Long Fei took a glance at the 2 incomparably obedient fox twins in the room and asked slightly, "Do you want to be free?" The twins' eyes lit up, but finally, he shook his head with all his might. "If I were to ransom you guys, how many divine stones would that cost?" Long Fei asked again. The twins shook their heads again. It seemed that they had suffered even more than Long Fei had imagined. Long Fei smiled faintly and said, "All right, you guys can leave first, I'll rest a bit by myself." It wasn't that his body couldn't handle it. Long Fei was afraid that the twins wouldn't be able to take it. Also, when Long Fei entered the ancient holy battlefield, he discovered that he was still not strong enough. The power to crush the destiny god was the power of the dragon-shaped mark, and his mother could not even begin to control it. He was slightly stronger than an ordinary powerhouse of the first stage. He had to continue upgrading. There was only one way to raise his cultivation. He wanted to destroy the cultivation method. A steel armor beast with 100 million experience, the first stage's mission was to gain 10,000, or 1 trillion experience, to level up. Isn't it just like flying? However, Long Fei's idea moved and entered into the cultivation mode of the dragon coffin. The purple-dressed woman's expression turned cold as she said lightly, "They want to participate in the martial stage competition." The nether slave said, "The competition this time round will not be that simple. All sorts of forces will infiltrate, so his cultivation will not have any advantages." "Miss, why is he from Devil Island participating in the competition? Could it be that he still wants to enter the heavenly ranking?" "That's not right. If it's the divine ranking, then he's exposed." "Why is that?" The purple-dressed woman gently smiled and said, "I feel like he is becoming more and more interesting. Uncle Nether, register for me, and I will also participate." Boom. Long Fei was so frightened that he broke out in cold sweat, and was once again killed by the steel armor beast. F***CK. Again. Long Fei shouted out one sentence and once again entered the strange star battlefield. 10 steel armor beasts surrounded him and crazily attacked him while he continuously dodged and dodged. Eagle's eye. Ding. Clear vision failed. The chances of finding a fatal location with 5% insight were too small. Boom. Long Fei smashed his fist onto the head of steel armor beast's beast, causing the bones on his arm to bulge out. Exceptionally painful. 48 million fighting strength, but it did not do any damage to the steel armor beast. MIS, incessant MIS. Long Fei wanted to die. How strong were the steel armor beast's defenses? The colossal dragon watched with his spiritual sense, but did not say anything. Fight. There was no other shortcut. The only method was to take on all enemies, fight to the death, and constantly absorb combat experience. Only by thoroughly tempering his body would he be able to enter a state where he could enter into battle at any time. This was something that could be refined. Long Fei was like a piece of good steel. These steel armor beasts were fire hammers that were constantly being tempered. When the day came that he had completed the tempering of this piece of steel, the 10,000 steel armor beastess would all be easy. At the same time, Luby. God's Hotel's underground boxing arena. The moment Li Yuanbar stepped out of the arena and into the boundaries cage, He raised his eyes slightly, and the muscles on his body seemed to twitch. Cluck, cluck, cluck. The joints exploded. In front of him was an old man who looked to be over 100 years old. The old man's gaze was cold as he stared at Li Yuanbar with a sinister sneer on his face, and said slightly, "Lubi, today is the day where you will be finished." Shua. One step. His figure disappeared. Li Yuanbar gave a silly smile as he swung his right arm. Bam! The fist landed in the air and the old man fell to the ground. One punch KO. You're tuning in to the Celestial War YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.